your heart ablaze. What's up, everybody? My name is Drew Philip Elias. I am the co-host of Between Nerds Podcast. I'm here with my other co-host, Mr. Aldo Mendez. What's up, buddy?
What's up, nerds? It's a great Sunday. It's a podcast room update Sunday. We got some new chairs.
We got some new chairs.
Matching chairs.
We mounted a TV. Like, this shit's nice now. V&A, Aldo's girlfriend, keeps bugging me that I forget to, post the pictures as I'm updating the room. Because, we moved the podcast room to my house, right? And I was using, I've basically been decorating a room I wasn't using in the house. And, V&A always keeps, DMing me, yo, you should be putting this on the Between Nerds page. You should put this on the Between Nerds page. And I always forget.
Yeah, and you send it to us,
Yeah, I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm totally down for everybody to see this. I'm so excited. I just forget that, we're managing a separate social media, page.
Send them all to me, and I'll put them on Instagram.
Which
is at Between Nerds, if you guys want to hit us up there. Also, you can use the hashtag for the last fucking day of January.
Right. Y'all will hear this episode on January 31st, which means that you have until midnight Mountain Standard Time, January 31st, to use hashtag Down for Nerds. That's DOWNFORNERDS in an original tweet, Instagram post, or YouTube comment, and we will enter you into the January giveaway. Well, we will get you some free, cool, tailor-made anime shit just for you. We will buy something specifically for your taste and interest. And for every retweet, and YouTube comment we will be donating to the Down Syndrome Coalition for El Paso.
Mm-hmm. We've gotten some likes. We've gotten some usage of the... I think we only have one, right? Yeah, it's Ricky's. Ricky's entering to our monthly giveaway.
Ricardo Cuellar?
Cuellar, uh-huh. Cuellar.
Cuellar? It's not Hispanic?
Cuellar. No, it's Cuellar, but... Oh, my bad. Yeah, you were saying.
Anyways, so you have until the end of the day this episode comes out. You have until January 31st to use hashtag Down for Nerds. And for the month of February, though, we will be donating to another local nonprofit organization, El Paso Young Black Leaders. Please use the hashtag Nerds for Black Leadership. An original tweet, Instagram post, or YouTube comment, and we will be donating to the El Paso Young Black Leaders.
Yes, please use that. And if you're listening on YouTube, please, like us, subscribe, and leave us a comment with uses of the hashtag, and you'll also be entered to our monthly giveaway. And we get cool shit, bro.
Yeah,
whatever you like. If we stalk your Instagram a little bit or your Twitter a little bit, if we find something that you kind of like, we'll fucking send you out something.
This nerd likes Yu Yu Hakusho. We'll send you some cool Yu Yu Hakusho shit. You know what I mean? Honestly, when we do research like that, what I'm noticing is the baseline anime seems to be Dragon Ball Z. A lot of the time, everyone, in their, top 4, it's a lot of the times Dragon Ball Z or something like that.
I was looking through Twitter, and this is a little beginner tangent before the meat of this episode, but I was looking at some news on Twitter about this channel apparently called Totally Not Mark. Apparently he does a parody DBZ. DBZ parody kind of thing.
Okay.
And apparently nerds are saying that the only reason why this guy gets so many views on his DBCA, it's called DBZA. A parody kind of channel of Dragon Ball animation shit. That's the only thing keeping Dragon Ball Z afloat.
That's bullshit.
and I was looking
that's the most bullshit
Twitter,
I've ever heard in my life.
Because apparently a lot of people watch this fucking DBZA. It's called DBZA. I think the channel name is definitely not Mark. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know.
I've seen he has discourse where
But it's the funny thing that we say about nerds just keeping it afloat.
No, but there's I've seen that name because he does the same thing for One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always on Twitter bitching that Toei Animation keeps flagging his shit. Mm-hmm. And Dragon Ball is also Toei Animation, so that fool's he's gonna get his YouTube channels revoked, and he's fucking pissed about it. And all the other One Piece YouTube channel people are on Twitter defending him, being how the fuck is Toei gonna do this? they're creating a discourse around your product, which is exactly what you would want, right?
And I guess the same fans of this channel is you can put them in the same cup as fans of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
You know?
But anyways, what the fuck with it? We are here in episode 80 to talk about the 2019 film by former Studio Gainax employee Hiroyuki Imaishi in Studio Trigger's 2019 feature-length film, Promare. Promare is the exact plot as Fire Force. It's and like we like Studio Trigger. So this is maybe the third, fourth thing we've seen of Studio Triggers. Like technically, Gurren Lagann is not Studio Trigger. It's Studio Gainax, and Mr. Imaishi left Studio Gainax after producing Gurren Lagann to make Studio Trigger. So I'm kind of considering them almost like a non-canon Studio Trigger film show. So we've seen Gurren Lagann, we've seen SSSS Gridman, we've seen this, we've seen 2 Star Wars Visions episodes, which were by Studio Trigger, and that might be it. We haven't watched Kill la Kill, we haven't watched SSSS Dynazon, we haven't watched Little Witch Academia. Oh no, Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, Darling.
So this is literally our 4th one, yeah.
And it's good. I mean, Promare, again, I'm glad I haven't been thinking podcast outside of the podcast room. And when I'm putting on these animes that we watch for this fucking amazing podcast here at Between Nerds, I every single thing as I was pointing them out, like, oh, look at this animation, or look at this archetype to an anime, of a Trigger anime, or how much he reminds me of like certain animes. I'm like, that's fun because the animation and music is so wild, you don't even care what's going on.
Yeah, kind of. It honestly, like, it being a film is probably what makes me want to critique it less. Because, like, if it was a show, if it was even 12 episodes, I would want to just rag on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, even it being a film, I'm like, wow, like, I'd rather just be watching Kill la Kill. Wow, I'd rather just be watching Gurren Lagann. Like, it's so Trigger, it's so Studio Trigger that I'm like, why don't I actually just watch the things that it's stealing from, right? The actual, like, Trigger lineage.
And that's exactly the same way I felt about Devilman last week.
No, I got you.
You
I
know?
got you.
Yeah.
But I think Studio Trigger, it being in-house, it being the same producers, the same artists, the same directors, the same, like, head of the studio, they know everyone knows what Studio Trigger is. So they're not even worried about hiding it. They're not worried about...
you like this title? Check out this title.
Yeah, it's because it's like, it's art style. Super Studio Trigger. Like, I like how non-traditional the anime style is. Is it like the air quotes best animation? This is the kind of thing that you would throw in that discussion to be like, there's no air quotes best animation. Because like anything, like it's so different, but so good at the same time. It's like, it's not traditionally good. Because when we think a lot of times like air quotes good animation, I'm thinking of, what's the guy that produced Garden of Words?
Shinkai?
Shinkai. When I'm thinking Makoto Shinkai, that's obviously in the conversation of like best anime directors for his animation style, right?
And when you think about it, a lot of animes like Space Dandy throw in a lot of different art styles in each one of their episodes. So it makes me think about like when it comes to art style, there's so many of them you can't even tell what's good or not. You know what I'm saying?
No, I got you.
Not that you can't tell what's good or not, because you can definitely tell. But what I'm trying to say is that you can't really crown somebody for best animation. It'll be best animation on its own category.
Well, when I was thinking like what you would traditionally think in the conversation for best animation, it's something that is still animated but looks hyper realistic, right? And Garden of Words is what I was thinking about, because when you think of like the raindrop scenes in the Garden of Words, you're like, what the fuck? Like that's animated? Like what the fuck?
But then again, something like Autopsy.
Right.
When it's not super hyper realistic, or something like Beastars.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Beastars, like it just being CGI wants to be shitted on, but like then you watch Beastars, you watch it in context and you're just like, this is amazing. I could watch this all day. I don't know what everyone's bitching about. And Promare is kind of the same thing. Promare is a lot of CGI. lot of CGI.
But
they don't even try to hide.
Placed. It's well placed.
Yeah. They don't even try to hide the CGI. It's so well placed. They're like, we know this is fire, so we're not going to try to bullshit you. Because, like, even something like Demon Slayer uses CGI, but it tries to hide its CGI. Like, it'll try to, like, in transition models, it'll use the CGI model, and it'll be like, oh, but look, like...
And Promare is, like, its art style is so, like... hyper like stylized that CGI, because the CGI is not trying to mimic something from like the real world, like as a metal looking surface or a fire surface. It's just doing its own like color palette. It follows the same color palette all throughout, and it's an easy color palette.
The fire in this is like blue and purple.
Yeah, exactly. So when you throw CGI in there, it's gonna be really easy to do it. It's gonna be really easy to put it there because it doesn't look any different. I
was rewatching it this morning with Karen, and even she was like, this doesn't look like anime. It doesn't look animated. Like, because it looks like a video game almost. Like a really good video game sometimes.
Beautiful Joe we're talking about.
Yeah, like Beautiful Joe or something like that. And yeah, exactly. That's exactly what like a lot of Studio Trigger things look like. It's my bad. So, like, Kill la Kill is like that a lot, where the character models, like when somebody's screaming, it just looks like scribbles on the page almost. And it's like that on purpose because people in the background of something like that was in theaters, like Promare, they'll still do that. Like characters in the background that are screaming will be like super choppy looking and like, it's like South Park almost, like super exaggerated mouths and faces.
And Promare here takes a animation path towards like geometry where like everything must be a angled figure at some point, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a pointy figure.
Yep.
And it just makes it so weird when you're looking at moving smoke, moving fire, moving water.
I think the colors like in motion make it like it breaks my brain in certain frames because I'm joking that it's the plot to Fire Force because it's literally stolen from the same source material from like traditional Japanese culture about like some super old school village fighting fires.
It's called Hikeshi. Hikeshi is the people that did firefighting back in ancient Japan.
Right. So like, especially in the beginning of the movie, I'm like, why did this come out in 2019? This is literally already like a couple years after Fire Force came out, and it's the exact same plot. Exact same plot. Like,
yeah, and then you add like a little sprinkle of mechas, which I thought it was one of my favorite from the whole series, from the whole movie.
Yeah, which again, like made me just want to be like, oh, I miss Gurren Lagann, like
because if Fire Force uses special abilities, Promare uses mechas.
Right. Exactly. So the premise of the movie is that we live in a modern day society where people are spontaneously combusting. And
this is not Fire Force.
This is not Fire Force. That's what I'm saying. That's the exact start of like Fire Force, where people are spontaneously combusting and they're essentially like demons or possessed or something like that.
Zombie fire.
And they just gain fire powers, right? So it's up to like a high-powered shonen Fire Force, a highly capable firefighter force to fight like these people that are causing spontaneous combustions.
Yeah, and to be in a movie is a great direction choice because they are pushing a lot of like the premise of Gurren Lagann or Fire Forces in just this like an hour and a half.
Right, because in Gurren Lagann, the plot is that we live in a future society where people are being forced underground because like
people are being oppressed.
Mecha alien robots like control the surface, right? Like the Matrix. Thank you. Christopher James is in the studio with us.
What up?
So, where Promare comes in is that like it's literally just that plot, but the main character, what's his name, Gyo, he fights the fires in mecha equipment.
And it's more
Gallo.
Gallo, and it's more firefighty than anything, you know, because here, unlike again Fire Force, they're not using their fire powers; they're using water, and they're using hyper they're using ice equipment. That's a cool, and cryogens and shit like that.
That's a cool little sci-fi thing. Is that like they're shooting like cryogen bullets and like there's like absolute zero cannons, and like that's cool. Like the sci-fi bit is badass.
And the motion scenes here are fucking insane. Like it's just CGI mecha sliding through like full building floors.
It's
like
just
trying to like put down this fire with like ice pistols.
It's just Gurren Lagann with CGI. Like, that's what's crazy. Because, like, I remember even our Gurren Lagann discussion that, like, Gurren Lagann being all 2D before, like, they were comfortable using CGI in, like, 2007, 2008 it's a feat in and of itself. Like, it's insane that something like that ever was produced.
And the more I talk about it, the more I can start letting go of what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Because then again, it's a cool hour and a half that you're experiencing.
Yeah, it's a trip, you know what I mean? It's more of an experience than anything. It doesn't want to be a
original, obviously.
Right, obviously not. It really just wants to be fun. It just wants you to encompass itself in its world for a very short, like, small amount of time and just spit you back out like it didn't even matter. Because, like, the first 20 minutes, the animation is insane. Like, they like doing, like, the difference in contrast when it comes to cityscapes. Because if you're talking about giant mechas being launched in the air or falling down to the ground, like, that's where they're, like, just flexing their animation chops. It reminded me of Studio Ghibli a little bit, but for different reasons. Because Studio Ghibli likes to flex how hyper-realized they can make 2D animation, right?
Like, you're about to watch this girl drink coffee.
Yeah,
and it's
in
gonna
2D.
look insane.
And you're gonna talk about it for 20 minutes on some fucking podcast like a fucking dork, right?
Yeah.
So, I almost said Gurren Lagann. Promare does that in a way that it's like watching your older cousin play a video game for the first time. It's like you're really just jumping around, jumping between buildings. It's like the first time you watched somebody play like Devil May Cry or something. The first time you watched a Final Fantasy sequence. You know what I mean? You're just like, for real? Like, that looks insane.
And with some great music behind it, too.
Oh, honestly, I was tallying it off earlier. In order. Like, my favorite things about Promare is, like, number 1, the animation, by, like, a long shot. Number 2, the music. Number 3, the character models. Number 4, the plot. Somewhere way the fuck down there. You know what I mean? Like, and I think they know that. I think that's what's so cool about, like, Studio Trigger. They know that they don't give a shit about the plot. They're not gonna pretend to care about the plot.
But then again, as far as the plot goes, I know we've seen these elements before in fucking Trigger studios and shit like that. That the aspect of the plot where we have our unit of firefighters who Gallo is part of, right? So apparently in this world we have different like jurisdiction situations that this kind of firefighters can do. But because people were in danger, they were allowed to go to this burning building in the middle of the city, right?
Right, yeah.
And this is where we find the people that can light on fire.
The Mad Brandish or something like that. Talking about the characters really quickly, our main guy here is the guy in the trailers and the front of the movie poster, Gallo, who I already described. He's just like tall, shirtless, with like long blue hair. He is literally Kamina from Gurren Lagann.
That's what I was gonna say.
Literally, yeah, I just googled it while you were talking. Yeah. He's literally just Kamina. And
we love Kamina.
And we love Kamina.
He died. He died like 15 minutes in.
Yeah, he died like 5 episodes into this 26 episode anime.
Yeah.
But like, and that's what I think is so dope about like Studio Trigger. They know that you know.
It's like a Boba Fett show. After Boba Fett dies.
Like, I was trying to describe the appeal to How I Met Your Father to somebody the other day.
I was going to ask you the other day, is that any good?
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
Honestly, it's kind of funny, but when somebody was just trying to ask me about it at Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals at TCG Battleground over on Zaragoza, what I was describing is my favorite part of How I Met Your Mother, because I was wearing my How I Met Your Mother hoodie, which is why it came up. Is on my hoodie, it shows all the memes, like all the inside jokes from How I Met Your Mother. And that's what makes How I Met Your Mother valuable, because it's like a big inside joke. It's rewarding to the audience, knowing like bits and pieces of what the characters are saying, right? It's just like, oh, the pineapple incident. I know what that is, but they don't even explain it, right? It's like a meme. It's this big inside joke between
like if you remember, you remember.
If you know type thing.
Right, yeah. It's this big inside joke between the show and the audience, right? And that was my thing about How I Met Your Father. It's like, so far, it's tight. Don't get me wrong. Like, Hilary Duff is dope. Whoa. She's got great personality. That shit's tight. But
is she better than Ted, like character-wise, like right now?
That's the thing. I don't know yet because there's no memes yet. There's no inside jokes yet. There's no, like, even from episode 1 of How I Met Your Mother, there were jokes and like inside jokes about like the limo. There's inside jokes about them and just ending up at the bar anyways. That hasn't been established yet in How I Met Your Father. So I don't know. That's what's going to make it rewarding for me. But like, as just like some garbage fucking 4-episode thing that we have so far, it's fine. Cause I remember there was a summer when I moved to Lubbock for school, like at Texas Tech, where I didn't know a whole lot of people yet. And I was just watching a lot of TV, like cause obviously I wasn't going to do my homework right away or anything. So I was watching this Netflix original show called Mixology. It got canceled after 1 season. It has a lot of actors that you'll see in a lot of different NBC shows, just those garbage sitcoms that get canceled after one season.
Kickstarted their shit.
Right, exactly. And the thing about Mixology is it had this atmosphere that you were looking at like a bubble of information, because it's literally just different perspectives talking about the same night in a club. So it's like, here's the main girl's perspective. Here's the main guy's perspective. Here's the bartender's perspective. Here's the server's perspective. Here's the bar manager's perspective.
There's a movie, it's kind of like way off topic, but there's a movie that's like that with Harrison Ford.
Han Solo?
Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that plays, I believe it's Harrison Ford.
Indiana Jones.
Vantage Point. You ever see that movie?
Vantage Point? I
yeah.
see Vantage Point.
Yeah. It's one where
is that Harrison Ford?
I want to say no. Dennis Quaid. There you go.
Yes, Dennis
Quaid. Not Harrison Ford. I'm an idiot. But Dennis Quaid, and what's it called? He plays the president's like bodyguard, and there's an assassination attempt that plays on the president while he's like in Iraq or something like that. It was during like when 9/11 was like really really strong and shit. Yeah. So it was like in the heat of that moment. So a lot of people are like, oh, like save the president, type shit. And then you basically see the incident from everybody's point of view. From the presidents to Dennis Quaid to the guy that shoots, and it's crazy. But I just made me think of that because you said you see from everybody's perspective.
Right, which is why I like Mixology. It's kind of like why I like How I Met Your Mother, because How I Met Your Mother has that same kind of feel where like in certain episodes they'll show you the same plot, they'll show you Marshall's dad's funeral 3 different ways. You know what I mean? So like and that's, I don't know where I was trying to go with it, but that's not exactly where that's where I'm skeptical and How I Met Your Mother so far.
Okay.
You're
How I Met Your Father.
You're talking about the sense of an inside joke to comparing it to How I Met Your Mother to Trigger Studios.
Right, because Studio Trigger. Thank you.
I was holding that.
Thank you so fucking much. So that's what's fun of Studio Trigger is they have the same characters in different ways all the time. Because if it's Studio Trigger, it's gonna have mechas. It's gonna be
like Miyazaki's dad in all his films.
Yeah, because Studio Trigger is always gonna throw in mechas. They're always gonna have. They have the Studio Trigger like mecha girl pose where it's literally the 02 pose from Darling in the Franxx, where it's just her like bent over the machine. Like there's always that ass shot there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it's the same shot in Code Geass for whatever reason. They're always gonna rewrite Kamina somewhere in there. They're always gonna have a mentor, older figure kind of person, which is
like an anime. Yeah.
No, well, this one, it's a very kind of stoic character. Because even in Fire Force, they have a similar character to Gallo here, who reminds us of Kamina, but in Fire Force, he's the captain. So he's meant to be this dual character that in Promare is both the captain of like this fire division and Kamina at the same time. So he's supposed to be cool and stoic, but he's not. Which is that's like a shortcoming of Fire Force.
He's a new recruit. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, in the first incident where the movie opens, and we've talked about so many greats about this sequence right here, and the plot that this group of firefighters, they get the right of way to attend to the building on fire because people are in danger. Yeah. But not only that, they're being attacked by like this fire cult people.
Yeah.
And once he goes up there, he jumps the gun. He Vegeta's the thing and goes first. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, "Hey, rookie, what are you doing?" Blah blah blah. But the mechas that come into this like situation, and one of my favorite characters, because it gets so animated, and I think we were talking about this off mic, that we like how animated and like South Parky some of the shots look. The little scientist that makes the equipment, Lucia, like she has like this evil fucking weird.
But she reminds me of a bunch of Gurren Lagann characters. She reminds me of the kid from Gurren Lagann, if anything. She reminds me of Simone. Mm-hmm. She reminds me of characters from Kill la Kill. She reminds me of the sidekick from Kill la Kill. Like
the little blonde girl.
Yeah,
oh, dude, she's so fucking hilarious. Dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like her desktop, like inside of their remote fire vehicle thing where she's on her computer, it has like a joystick on it, like it looks like a fucking video game pad. Mm-hmm. And she's just out here screaming. And I like this kind of character because she's also like Liron from Gurren Lagann, where it's just this like hyper science character. Like they're just like writing away all the mechas because I don't know, science person exists. Don't fucking question it.
What's the little girl from Cowboy Bebop?
Oh, Ed.
Ed? Mm-hmm. Ed. It's Ed.
It is Ed, exactly.
It's fucking awesome.
And which isn't a bad thing, you know what I mean? And that's exactly why it being a film is an asset, because it feels like a micro experience of like all these highly recognizable like tropes that you already know and love if you know anime. And maybe that's why like Promare wasn't more successful in theaters, because it's kind of like it's an anime nerd's film. It's not accessible to everybody.
It's good. It's something. A new anime watcher can definitely jump into this and make their own criticisms about it, because you've never seen anything like Gurren Lagann, or maybe you've never seen anything like Kill la Kill,
which maybe isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. No, absolutely not.
Because if this was your first experience with this kind of film, I feel like sometimes we talk about other things, like we talk about Devilman Crybaby, and it's like you kind of need to have watched the end of Evangelion to understand Devilman Crybaby. You maybe needed to have watched all these other series that are like Devilman Crybaby to fully appreciate it. Promare, being in this subgenre, this sub-bubble of anime, maybe it's not a bad thing if this is your first experience to it, because this is such like, it's like the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's such like a perfect encompassment of like these different tropes and character models and writing.
And
tropes.
it has a beginning and an end.
Exactly.
You know? Like...
Exactly, which is great.
Yeah.
Because the mechas remind me of Darling in the Franxx a little bit, because they're fluid mechas. Like, yes, they're robots that people are driving, but the energy of the driver can make it like transform, which reminds me of Darling in the Franxx. Mm-hmm. But
their sexuality link, their sexual link between each other,
for real. Like that's how like Promare turns at a certain point. It's just like it's the bond between it's the sexual energy between the two drivers, and like. So
it does turn like that.
So it's Darling in the Franxx,
I didn't even think about that. It does.
It's just Darling in the Franxx, like, which isn't bad. You know, Darling in the Franxx is tight. If Darling in the Franxx, if you just pretend that the 24 episode series that is Darling in the Franxx ends at episode 15.
That's all you need to watch.
If you just pretend it ends at episode 15, it's perfect. It's the perfect experience.
That sounds like to me like Death Note. If you just watch up until episode like 20 whatever, and then
when L dies.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you.
We've talked.
Oh
Death
yeah,
Note.
actually, yeah.
Fake ass listeners. See, Christopher James, fake ass listener. Yes, we've talked about Death Note.
I know you guys have talked about Death Note, but I just keep forgetting.
Yeah.
What episode is this? 80 now at this point? Exactly.
God.
So
how does he know?
I was part of episode 79. So.
Oh, that's right.
What were you gonna
say? Nothing. I was just saying that all these things come together, and I wanna do a little bit more of the plot. But once our protagonist Gallo fights our evil people, because it's a weird dynamic, and it's funny because they call out powers. But the villains acknowledge that he's calling out powers, and it's like, yo, stop saying like stupid stuff.
The introduction to the air quotes villains here is hyper stylized. When they introduce the Mad Burnish, which like Aldo's talking about, they're like the government has marked them as terrorists that are they're pyromaniacs, that they're like just for fun lighting up buildings and stuff like that.
Or like secondary human or some shit like
right.
that.
So honestly, the racial component in Promare is probably the most original thing about the plot here. Because that's like the only time in Gurren Lagann I've ever heard anything like that. Ever. Ever. Well, maybe in Gurren Lagann, because Gurren Lagann kind of had the speciesist thing about like the top people, the people that are living underground. But
it was more like a social...
Yeah, it was a critique on like social mobility more than anything. In Promare, they really treat the Mad Burnish, the people that spontaneously combust, and I don't know if this sounds racist, the regular human beings. There's this whole like racial component there, like.
And it's weird because at first, we do have a first fight with these three individuals. One of them being the leader, two being protectors of the leader, and the animation's fucking great. Amazing. Nothing here is very... Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous, and we're going to keep talking about the animation.
The sequence for the introduction for the Mad Burnish is three dudes in fucking crazy Kill la Kill looking mask things. Like, just black from the head down, and just like the giant purple, blue, and yellow, and orange fires behind them. Like, the fire's green in some sequence. Like, it looks like a 1980s fucking retro color palette sometimes. And, like, their introduction is so stylized because, like, the two sub-Mad Burnish will, like, one brings out an ATV, one brings out, like, a motorcycle just out of their fire powers. It's the same thing in Fire Force, where I'm like, at what point is this actually a fire power?
But here, instead of being something like a Fire Force fire squid, is like a motorcycle or something mechanical, because it's mechas.
Right, yeah, because mechas. So when the two sub-bad guys are riding their motorcycles around Gallo inside of his mecha, it looks crazy because the sequence is them doing burnouts in a circle. So they're pushing up CGI smoke everywhere. They have these orange and red and pink fires coming out of their bodies. At that same time, Gallo's mecha has like the red and blue sequence from like a fire truck siren like going around, but it because of the way they layer the CGI, the blue and red beams of light coming out of Gallo's suit will overlay on top of the gray smoke. And it's hard for me to describe because it's the kind of thing that you need to see in motion.
It's just a great combination of 3D and 2D animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fucking fantastic. And when we're talking about like how we are viewing these other people, spoiler, no spoiler, but they're called the Promare.
Yeah.
People that can handle fire, and they're they're considered as lesser humans or like they're terrorists.
They're the Burnish.
Yeah.
The Promare are the spirits that possess the Burnish and that give them fire power.
You're right. The ones that can connect with the Force.
Right. Yeah. So exactly. Which is hilarious because the main Mad Burnish character that you were describing, as opposed to him
jumping on a segue into this fun bit.
As opposed to him jumping on like a motorcycle or something, he like produces a chair, like a throne almost, and just posts up. And he's the one in all the promotional material in the trailer for Promare, because he just like posts up. It's hyper stylized.
He looks badass.
He's got this big ugly grin on his helmet. And he's the one that just starts beating up Gallo in his armor. It's just like, see, you can't even beat me. He ends up being a kid. He's that blonde guy in the main bit. So the main Mad Burnish bad guy, the one with the super, super strong firepower, his name's Leo Fotia. Leo Fotia. And his whole plot is he lets himself get captured by Gallo and his crew so that he can go to like the federal penitentiary where the rest of the Burnish are, so that he can break them out of prison essentially.
It reminds me of like some shit from like the X-Men, if you guys are familiar, when like the Sentinels like harbor or like kidnap a shitload of mutants and they put them in a facility. Like the X-Men did that all the time.
Right.
They would just like break into like, they would get captured and they'll break them out.
No, exactly. And that's what the movie turns into, because immediately right then, that's where we start getting into like the political portion of it, because Gallo was basically saved as a kid by the governor of the city. And so when he captures the leader of the Mad Burnish, he's gifted a medal by the governor.
Mm-hmm. And then a little bit before we continue on that, it's crazy that I mentioned the X-Men, because the X-Men was all about civil rights and stuff like that, you know? So, like, once the fight is over on top of this building in this first sequence of the movie, so I talked about how the department where Gallo is, or the company that he's in, we know that they got the green light to move into these people, right?
Right.
Into the quote unquote terrorists. Once the battle ends, like the people that were supposed to deal with it came in, and it looks like a super military police at some point, you know? Because this guy Vulcan, Vulcan is like this massive ass dude with it wasn't even in your mind. When we looked at the academy, the company that Gallo was in and fighting, and you see their gadgets and their equipment, you're like, fuck yeah, this is badass. No, fuck that. That's like low scale machinery in this world.
Number one, Vulcan is literally the Greek god of fire, which is probably why they named this character Vulcan. Number two, you're right. Like, it's like the kind of giant militarized outfits. The outfits that they were giving, like when they were breaking up protests like a couple years ago and stuff like that. It's like, why does the local police look like a military? So when you see these characters, these are the people that actually have the high powered, like absolute zero bullets and stuff like that. Like, that's how they fight the Burnish. They're just shooting bullets at fire people.
I like how they describe it later on in the movie, but I love that they decided to take a couple of minutes just to give you nerd, like, fake science shit.
Yeah, just jokes, just like fake physics about what absolute zero really means and how you could do that with a bullet.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Well, at least it gives people like, oh, okay, so that explains how they did. Because, you know, someone out there is like, how the fuck did
But
they
if you're not trying to digest, like, super hyper analyze it, but you decide to, they all this give you that.
Yeah.
And be like, did you see all the ice powers that they were using before? Well, this is how we think it works.
Exactly. And that's like, that was one of my things about Fire Force, was like, how the fuck are they fighting fire people with extra fire people? So then it's just fire times fire at that point. And that was my thing in Fire Force.
Positive and a positive, they do a positive.
That was my thing in Fire Force. It was like, that makes no fucking sense. Like, the guy fights with fire kicks, and he's just kicking fire people in the chest. That's the plot to Fire Force. At least here it's just like, nah, dude, they're the ice police, and they're just out here blasting fools with ice cannons, which makes more sense to me.
Absolutely. And it makes it more digestible. It makes it easier to be like, but right here, this military police that you see here, it take the bone in me, you know? I was like, something's wrong with the way things are because they're in charge.
That's where you start getting a lot of, like, the racist language. Because,
the pizzeria?
Yeah, because they're just Burnish. Like, it doesn't matter if we beat the shit out of them. Burnish aren't people. When they're clearly just human beings that ignite on fire. Like, they describe it as, like, it's just a medical condition. It's like My Hero Academia almost in that sense. You know what I mean? Some people are born with the defect, some people aren't. It's just how society is.
And remind me again, was like the whole ecological aspect of the whole story popped up already?
What do you mean?
Like the end of the Earth?
Yeah. So, kind of not really.
Not really.
So after Gallo gets, like, awarded the medal by the governor, they're going back to the pizzeria, right? Which is what you were starting to describe, where inside of the pizzeria, the main cooker of the pizza, he's a Burnish, but, like, he's, like, in hiding. It's like the fucking Jews or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean that Jewish person doesn't have his paperwork? That's illegal. Dude, he's just working. Like, why are you so pressed about this right now? And that's kind of, like, what starts happening because...
Or, like, Japanese people in America.
Yeah, Japanese people in America during World War II.
Yeah.
So that's where people start feeling bad for the Burnish, and they're seen as not entirely bad. It's just like, dude, he was just cooking pizza.
Well, when you say people, it's not all people. It's just the company that we're following with Gallo,
the government,
or Gallo, because everybody else, once that attack happened on that pizzeria, even the people were like, "Oh, this was made by Burnish." Ugh.
Right.
So everybody else is being ignorant. The only person that we're like inner dialoguing with, it's Gallo. Because Gallo's like, wait, yo, that's just a person. He was just working. What are you doing? He's like, fuck you. And then not only did they get the Burnish, but they got the old man that gave him the job. He's like, yo, dude, he's a cool guy.
That's what I'm saying. It's like Nazi Germany's kind of shit, where it's just like, you gave a Jew a job, like, you're arrested.
And I liked that I was going to get a payout at the end. Yeah. Like, as soon as that started, I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the system to fall.
Yeah, the government's just know, like, it's going to be about, like, overthrowing the government at that point.
Yeah, yes.
Because even Gallo, he's ignorant at this point. Like, he's not exactly racist against the British or anything, but he's very, very ignorant about it. Like, he's just like, I don't see an issue with this. Why is everyone so pressed about this? And what we start seeing from Vulcan's squad that, like, turns them into the government is that the government, the governor, is like part of this ploy to capture Burnish people and turn them into like a giant battery. Mm-hmm. So then it turns into like the Matrix, right? Mm-hmm. Which is like the plot to the Matrix, where like
like Morty and Rick and Morty.
All the Mortys and Rick and Morty when they have like the wall of Mortys meant to like
that scene was so crazy,
right? So it's like that because they're just like leeching off of their Brandish power to create like a dimensional rift. Which again is like Rick and Morty, I guess.
I like that they put that in there. I was like, okay, we're warping holes. We're going through a wormhole.
We're going to different universes. Like that's what it turns into a little bit, and it's just it's scary because this is totally like what Republicans think like the government does. You know what I mean?
They just the stakes.
They just capture people and turn them into batteries, and they're trying to.
Talking about lizard people? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Cause the end of the world and like save the... Because the plot is the governor has been capturing Brandish people so that he can make a giant battery to warp 10,000 people to a different planet. A la Noah's Ark or something like that. But only 10,000 people. Like the whole planet, they're only picking 10,000 people, right? Which is how we as an audience start realizing that like... the governor here, Cray Forsyth, is probably a bad guy because he's kind of just like being like it's the eugenics argument where I was at work the other day actually maybe like a month ago. Somebody that's leaving the office was genuinely asking me why the needs of like the many can't outweigh the needs of the few. And I'm just like, because then you end up doing it's a eugenics argument because so we were having an argument at work about I mentor a group of engineering leadership students at UTEP, right? And they kind of do a project for us, like a mock project. Like we're totally going to get actual professionals to do it, but they're doing a mock project for us for something we're actually going to do, where eventually El Paso is going to start importing water from the Del City area because they have these giant underground like aquifers over there, and we're going to import it to El Paso for cheap, plentiful water because the Rio Grande isn't really sustainable. It kind of like Elephant Butte produces less water every year and all that nonsense, right? So
like global warming nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, it can only hold so much.
Huh?
I mean, Elephant Butte can only hold so much, and if we drain it every year,
it hasn't been full in like decades.
Yeah, well,
that's sense. The point. Yeah. So if permafrost dripping down into Elephant Butte from northern New Mexico and southern Colorado is no longer sustainable, so we need alternate water sources, right? So these engineering leadership students, they're professors, were trying to critique them and like pick on them a lot, being like, hey, yo, this isn't fair because you're stealing water from the poor people of Elephant Butte. Only like a few thousand people live out there.
I was gonna say,
like they could never empty this water reservoir, right? And even my coworker was trying to make the argument to them, like, well, why can't like the million people in the El Paso area that are going to use this water, don't they outweigh the ethics of like and the needs of the people down there? And I'm like, no, that is literally not socially sustainable because that's where you get into like the plot of Promare here, where it's just being like, what do you mean? We're protecting most of the population. We're protecting the important people in the population.
It's like those are still 1,000 people who live there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's not fair. That's not ethical by any means. Not incorporating the needs of 100% of the population will never be socially sustainable. It's not ethical in any way because it's not fair. Because then it's like people in power picking and choosing like who actually
the opposite
matters.
of sustainability.
Yeah. So that's the plot to Promare here because we're going to start cutting into the prison where Leo was arrested, like on purpose. And you start seeing like where they're hosting the brandish, and the equipment they have these brandish hooked up with is absolutely insane, where it's just like they're these giant, like, I don't know, 100-pound looking handcuffs over their wrists. And if they ignite, if they use their brandish power, then it'll like hit them with like a bunch of ice all at once. And there's this old guy in the background when we first see it. It's like, yeah, try not to use your brandish powers as much, or those handcuffs will literally like freeze off your arms. So they're just like,
like frostbite shit.
Yeah, like extreme frostbite just on your arms at all times to maintain this like population of prisoners that can ignite themselves.
It's like a damping color from like Deadpool.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that exact thing. So Leo breaks out. It turns out Leo's actually a badass. Like, he's not just Brandish, he's like the Brandish of all Brandish.
Same character from Star Wars Visions.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he's a guy.
So he was in Star Wars Visions too?
No, but Star Wars Visions wasn't a girl. Wasn't her.
The twins?
She was a sister, yeah.
The episode with the twins? Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about the dude twin.
No, I was talking about the girl twin.
Oh, yeah. Well, Leo can basically, he is such a good Brandish that he can fire through the freezing handcuffs, I guess. Like,
he has the big firepower.
The big firepower. Because at a certain point where they're moving them between cells or between the prison or something like that, Leo's just like, okay, guys, on the count of 3, go. And he just like burns through his ice shackles and burns off everyone else's ice shackles so that like the trio of the Mad Brandish are able to transform and break everyone out of the prison. And they kind of just like blast off into a cave by a lake. And it's sad because, you know, they're basically like government fugitives. These people, like, these are people that are dying inside of the prison system. Like, when they first show up to the prison, they're literally...
it turned into like 1940 Germany.
Yeah, they're literally just like dying inside of the prison. They're handcuffed, and what we see is that just narrative gimmick. The cave that they find is right next to a lake, a frozen lake that Gallo was already hanging out at. So he just like went to go check it out, which it's like a joke that Gallo would even be at this random frozen lake in the middle of nowhere that they just happened to show up at.
Yeah, very Goku shit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So Gallo shows up to the cave where the Brandish are hanging out, and Leo is kind of putting them out of their misery. Like, he's giving them to the flame. Like, the flame is like consuming them, it's eating their body, and him being fucking Fire Jesus just kind of like forgives them for their sins and just like sacrifices them, and they turn back to ash, right?
It's like the Atom from fucking...
Yeah, it's exactly like the Atom bit from Fire Force. Exactly.
And it's crazy, dog, because at this point we're getting to see more of the conversation of like these people being possessed by an already existing energy within Earth's core.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
why that they're trying to use the Brandish to create the warp hole to escape Earth, because Brandish energy is already inside of Earth and it's consuming Earth's core, and Earth's core is going to explode.
And the only exhaust that magma reactions is going, the only exhaust that energy has is the people that it possesses. So the people have to burn a building without killing people to actually exhaust like the energy. That's how I saw it.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, essentially,
because even the Burnish, they're like, we are not killing people. We're like a society that needs to let shit out.
Yeah, because even Leo in the very beginning of the film, he's like, don't make sure not to kill anybody, because Brandish would never kill anybody, or Burnish would never kill anybody. Mm-hmm. So there's that ethical dilemma there at that same time. Like, you're destroying people's homes, but you're trying not to kill them.
Now that I think about it, it reminds me of like a polka dot man in Suicide Squad that he has to like relieve his dots.
Yeah,
right.
Fuck, that movie's so fucking funny, man.
It's so stupid. So, Gallo is basically a political prisoner to the Burnish right now. And he's like seeing how they live. He's actually humanizing them. Because even Gallo in the beginning was kind of being like, oh, they're not really people. They're not really this. They're not really that. But he saw the guy at the pizzeria get used up as a battery and get hurt and destroyed. He's like, dude, that's totally not cool. And he's seeing how the Burnish like function as a society. And he's just like, that's totally not cool. And from here on out, you thought everything we've been describing.
Did you mention when Gallo was in the cave?
Yeah.
Captured? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's okay. He's a political prisoner.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
So, that pacing there is kind of quick in this first 40 minutes, but it gets even fucking quicker from here on out. Like, from the very next scene, the military with Vulcan in it, the giant asshole from the first 20 minutes, he shows up. And he's at the cave. He's like, hey, you fucking Burnish, I'm here to take you back to prison. From here on out, the pacing in the movie goes absolutely crazy. Like, it's at like a breakneck fucking speed. Mm-hmm. Which seems exactly up like a Studio Trigger film's kind of alley, because they seem less worried about the consequences of the film, trying to break it down, trying to actually understand it. But just like, you want to see some batshit animation for 45 minutes? All right, let's fucking go. So...
Some of the ways they trying to fucking see they want us to see some crazy animations. Like, I believe the next plot point will be that the old man that initially was imprisoned with the other Burnish,
the one that warned them not to freeze off their arms.
He was a traitor all along. He was just a smelly old man.
And the animation on him from there on out looks crazy, because like him as a
villainy.
As a villainy, but like it's super scatterplottish. Like his mouth starts turning South Parky. Like,
you know, like the archetype on like 90s anime to make a person look mousy. You know, and they would be like the bad guy. Like that.
Yeah, it's exactly like, so basically the government shows up, the Mad Burnish, the main three, Leo and his two compatriots, like go in their black armor mode. And the old guy just in the background just sticks like an absolute zero charge on Leo's side, and he just like starts spontaneously turning into ice. Which is crazy. And then the old guys in the background say, ha ha ha, you thought I was trying to help you. Don't you know that us Burnish are actually not actual people? So I let the actual people control us and turn us into fuel power.
Dude, and it's so crazy here, because like as much as it's a like science fiction-y thing with the ice bullets, it looks like it fucking hurts. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Leo's just like screaming in pain. And the hilarious bit, which reminds me a lot of Kill la Kill again, is the way they treat like people getting punched and hit. Like, it's so cartoony. It's like Tom and Jerry almost. And that's how Kill la Kill is. Like, Kill la Kill, like the action bits, the hittings look so
like bonk bonk bonk.
Yeah. It's such like a meme in and of itself. And something that Studio Trigger did that I never actually watched is they did a net animation called Inferno Cop, which is again kind of like, it's just a cop who's always on fire. Okay. But it's the same kind of like joke animation. And I'm glad that even in like a film format, Studio Trigger is still doing Studio Trigger, like no matter what. So the rest of the movie is Gallo basically like awakens his already awakened Promare power. It reminds me of like One Piece kind of in that way, where he just kind of just like starts igniting himself past what the Zero Bullet's trying to do to him.
And it's crazy because there was never a mention of him being a Burnish.
Leo?
Yeah.
The leader of the Mad Burnish?
No, not Leo. I'm sorry.
Talk about the old man?
You were talking about Leo. I'm sorry. I was almost going to spoil like what was going to happen. Yeah.
So, Leo basically turns into a dragon.
Yes. He
uses his Burnish powers, turns into this giant fucking 1,000-foot dragon. Goes straight to the capital where the governor's at. And he's just like, K. Crete, or whatever the fuck his name is. Oh god, what's his name? Crate Foresight, where the fuck are you, pussy? I came here to blast you in the ass. It like, he's completely lost his sense of like, not trying to hurt people anymore, because he's just like a giant fire dragon just walking through this building.
Well, he is mad because he finds out what's happening to the people. And at the same point, right before that, there was like this whole thing with Gallo going to the governor and being like, "Yo, bros, like."
Did you know that Burnish are actual people?
Yeah.
We can't be fucking sending them to the gulag, bro. This shit's not tight.
And then he's like, what do you mean? We're building this ship for 10,000 people.
Don't you want to be in this? Exactly. Shut your fucking mouth.
So apparently the governor had past history with Gallo by saving him from a fire.
Yeah.
And it just gives you like a shiller to digest.
Which is also the plot to Fire Force.
Which is also
because in Fire Force, the main guy in Fire Force, he decided that he wanted to be a fire cop because he was saved from a fire that he thinks he created as a kid that killed his brother and his mother. Gallo's the same thing, where his whole family was murdered in spontaneous combustion caused by a burnish that they never found. And the governor, as a firefighter in college at the time, found him and rescued him.
Crazy stuff.
Crazy. So Gallo standing up to the governor just puts him in the political prison.
Uh-huh.
And Gallo just goes with it because he's such a good government person. I don't know.
Go ahead.
No.
And all his team is like, wait, what do you mean they put him in prison? It's like, yeah, he said fuck you to the governor. And,
and the governor put him in political prison.
What do you mean? What do you want me to do? Wild.
And one of the things is that when I was joking in the first 20 minutes that there's a girl in a mecha that has the 0-2 pose. We're like bent over the mecha. Like the only way she can fly this thing is with her ass showing. Her sister is a scientist that works for Cray Foresight. And she's the one that's giving them the technology to create the warp hole machine with the use of the brandish power.
Correct.
So Aina and her sister, I can't find her name, Ellis, are like, whenever they're starting to discover things that the government's doing, Aina's always like, well, Ellis isn't involved, is she? Ellis isn't involved. And that's as an audience, I'm like, it feels really like weak for a female character for only be worried about other people. That's such like a not a sexist way. Like, that sounds too extreme. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's sexist, but it's totally not the feminist take on, like, saying that women only have value in caring for other people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all the male characters here, like Gallo and Leo and Varys and Cray Foresight, they're such strong people in and of themselves. Like, they don't need that empathy to be a strong person.
Yeah.
And it feels like here, Aina's character is being like, oh, well, she's just important because she reminds the audience who she's supposed to care about. Like, if you were describing her in the sense of the Bechdel test, which we haven't talked about. The Bechdel test isn't a real test. It's a model to describe films.
It's a grading system on films.
It's a grading system on films to describe how often films, female characters specifically, talk about characters that are either not... They're either not speaking to a man, about a man, or like in the context of a man.
And again, it's funny. Sorry, babe, but like, Sex in the City is written by a man.
Right.
Like the whole
it is?
thing.
I didn't know
is
that.
It really? I didn't know that either.
Yeah, like the whole thing is.
I thought it was written by Jennifer or Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah. I don't even know.
No. It's directed by.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
And I'm like, don't you see what's going on? Like, every single woman, it's connected to what a male can contribute.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I got you.
Don't you see it? It's like, there's fake empowering here to what your character is.
Honestly, the other day I was thinking,
crazy.
Me and Karen watch Euphoria weekly, especially since season 2 started.
Is it good? Is it really good?
It's tight.
I need to get into it.
It's tight because it's like one of those things for like, it comes out on Sunday night too. So it's one of those things that like to get tossed to, and it's just about Zendaya getting tossed, and I'm like, oh, me too, girl. So like, but it's tight, and it's an experience. Like it has so many things that you could pick apart if you really wanted to. But it's HBO, so it's supposed to be extreme. It's supposed to be like jarring. It's not Gossip Girl. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be controversial.
Yeah.
Like, it's about teenagers doing drugs. That's literally the plot. But the point I was trying to make is that the Bechdel test was created by, like, a college professor, and it's just, like, an example to describe women non-inclusivity in Hollywood films, right? Because if women don't have an identity outside of a man, that's not accurate, right? That's kind of sexist in such like a male-centric perspective. And the other day watching Euphoria, I almost wanted to say that, but then I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Because the thing about Euphoria is that every female character that is not Zendaya's character has like controversy that's singularly pointed around a man. Like it reminds me of people I knew in like college or something like that. They were like, they were fuckboys. You know what I mean? Like they just always creating controversy around women because they knew they could get women either way, right? Yeah. So it was like a joke, like a game almost, to like just fuck with the girls in your life because they're going to come back anyways. That's so how corny, yeah. That's how most characters in Euphoria are written, except for Zendaya's character. Zendaya's character is so drunk, is so drug ridden 1000% of the time that she doesn't have the brain space to be like, hey yo, to have controversy about a man like that. She's sexually fluid, like that's a big thing in Euphoria, is like sexual fluidity, and just gender fluidity too. Like the one of the main controversies in season 1 of Euphoria, or the plot gimmicks, is that a grown man who's like secretly he has a fetish for young trans women.
What?
To the point that like he records them in hotel rooms, and his son becomes like scarred at a very young age because he finds his dad's like recordings of him fucking like teenage transgender women. So then Zendaya's best friend ends up being a transgender woman who ends up getting sexually abused by this grown man character. And then even in where we're at in season 2 right now, we're still dealing with the repercussions of that. Like it's about like drug dealers. It's about Zendaya being caught up like in gun battles between different drug groups.
High school narcos.
Right. It's narcos, but everyone's in high school. It's just like, and it's California, you know what I mean? So it's like, everyone's semi-affluent. Just to live in California, you need to have some money. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what's so crazy about it. And that's my issue with Aina in Promare, is that she is not written. She is exclusively written into the male characters and what they're doing at the time, which is not inclusive. That's not because
at no point was she like, oh, he said fuck you to the governor? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Peace out. I'm going to do my own thing. No, she's like, that couldn't be it. I need to get him out.
Yeah, I got to go rescue a man. Yeah. What do you mean? Because even Yoko in Gurren Lagann had an identity outside of the man, which was like a really big sticking point there. Because like by the time Kamina dies in Gurren Lagann, that'd be lights out for the female character that was in love with him, right? But like Yoko being Yoko and not just being subservient to a man has a whole character arc outside of him.
Absolutely.
But not in Promare. I don't know how they went backwards with it.
Got you. I got your point. Okay.
So.
I didn't even see it like that because she's not in that episode, which makes your point even better.
Right, because Aina has like in
that episode, in the whole movie.
Aina has like a very like backdrop perspective. They try to introduce her as part of the main trio, starting after Gallo gets kidnapped, because he breaks out of prison and he stops Leo from burning down the Capitol. So he's able to talk Leo down, kind of. But what ends up happening is they accidentally rocket themselves to the frozen lake where Gallo originally found the Mad Burnish breaking out of prison. They find a secret lab where Clay Forsythe's original partner implanted himself inside of a computer, which reminds me of the plot from Captain America in The Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, that fucking
doctor,
the Nazi
something.
dude, right? Yeah,
yes, the Nazi. So there's a Marvel character who's a Nazi scientist who implanted his consciousness inside of a mega computer.
The short little dude with glasses, right?
Yes,
exactly. Like Zordon from Power Rangers.
Right, it's Zordon from Power Rangers. So this exact character is right here. They find his secret lab that was hidden inside of this frozen lake bed. And right as soon as they walk in, they're just like, "Oh, are you Leo Fotia and Gallo Thymos? I have an urgent message for you." And he basically implanted his consciousness into a computer, Clay Forsythe killed him so that he could patent all of his firefighting technology, which is why Clay Forsythe is both a billionaire and the governor of like North America or whatever the fuck they call it.
Like Coco. It's that Coco story.
Yeah, exactly. So then,
is that what it's called? Yeah,
what?
right. The Disney movie, the Mexican.
Yeah, Coco.
Yeah, Coco.
Yeah.
Coco. So then, he's like, "Oh, take my special hyperized mecha that has a 2-person chamber, one for a burnish and one for a human, so that one can drive the mecha and one can power it. And please go punch Clay Forsythe in the face."
And this is where it reminds me of Darling in the Franxx, because here it's just like this counteracting personalities between Leo and Gallo.
It seemed like sexual tension to me.
So it comes to like, oh, I'm not a burnish. Oh, I'm a burnish, and
because Gallo has like his writing is always like, yeah, I'm the fireman with the fiery spirit, and I'm here to knock your lights out. And he's just like such like a shonen character, and Leo
it's like Buzz Lightyear and Woody. Almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, but the Leo character, there's a typecast in like fantasy media where one's called the Lancer. Like one is the lead, one's the Lancer. The Lancer's the one with the bad personality, but he's actually secretly super strong. But because of his personality, he can't be the leader. He's the support character for the strong-willed leader.
Vegeta.
Yeah, he's Vegeta. Exactly. Vegeta's the best like example of that. That's Leo. That's Leo. Like he's stronger than Gallo. He's more capable. He's smarter, but he just doesn't have the personality to be the leader. So he's just not.
I mean, he's being pursued by the government for like who knows how long.
Right. So they jump inside the mecha, which they call Deus Ex Machina. Which Deus Ex Machina is Latin
on
for
the
like,
nose.
Yeah, it's so on the nose. Deus Ex Machina is Latin for what is it for
the fabricated, like you're in somebody else's plan almost. You're a cog in the machine.
Right, because...
what are the gears turning?
God from the machine. That's the direct translation, right?
Okay.
So, I like the definition you're giving, Aldo, because that's right. Because Deus Ex Machina means, like, it's the bullet in the chamber. It's the explanation when the character needs it. It's the solution to the problem when there is none. It's God from the machine. It's this hyper supernatural, almost like way too convenient solution that just appears out of nowhere.
That was a nice analogy, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's what Deus Ex Machina means. So right here, they're just like, oh, this is exactly what we need to go punch like Clay Forsythe in the face. So they jump back to the Capitol, and they in the mecha, Gallo's having an issue driving it.
Performing.
Yeah, he's just like, and Leo in the background is just like, why are you being such a bitch? Why can't you perform right now? Just get it up. What's the issue? And Gallo's just like, and he pulls up like a schematic of the robot. And he's just like, but look how ugly it is. I can't drive this ugly mecha. It's so ugly.
And I mean, in any anime, but here it turns into like a love interest. Like,
I honestly,
a la like Neon Genesis of Evangelion almost, with the one god character, the one with the white hair.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. It just starts getting crazier from here too. I think the subtext here for a lot of it is the we're joking about the sexual tension, but I really think it was sexual tension.
To a certain point, the movie wants you to believe that Gallo and Leo should be a couple.
Just like in NG.
Right, just like in NG. But I think what's holding us back is it because it is Japanese, and we talked before about how like Japanese media is like really transphobic, semi-homophobic sometimes. If it were American media right now especially loves writing like queer characters. I just talked about Euphoria. Well, it's because like
Netflix went on a tangent with that shit.
Well, it's kind of deserved though, because like
no, it is.
It's like how. My stepdad's white. Spoilers, no spoilers, right? So I was raised.
And a Republican.
Yeah, right. So I was raised by a retired drill sergeant who's from Kentucky, right? And his thing,
I'm so sorry.
He gets in these tangents sometimes about like, why does everything need to be inclusive? Like, I don't understand why jobs can't just be about the most qualified person. Why do you need to have the what's the racial component to it? Yeah, the diversity component. I'm just like, listen, everything in the United States for the past 400 years, before it was even considered the United States, has been just like advancing the white male straight perspective. You know what I mean? Like, if everything from like 2015 onward wants to be about like gay people and queer culture, just put up with it. Cause like everything before that, like 300 years of media has just been about people that look like you.
Right.
So if like people want to typecast black characters just to shove them into the media, who gives a fuck?
Watch Hallmark.
Yeah. Just go.
Just go back to Lifetime.
Go watch Lifetime.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, like if you just want to see that, then just go here. But if you want to look somewhere else,
or just look up any media from the past 300 years and see who it was written about. So
that's hilarious.
Drunk white guy who beats his wife.
Honestly, I saw like a Twitter picture. So there was
what's the name of that one show?
The Honeymooners.
Yes, that was like the one where he's like one of these days
I'm gonna knock you to the moon.
The bus driver. Yeah.
Terrible.
Bro, that's crazy.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I know domestic violence when it was funny.
Like one of these days, Alice,
straight to the moon.
Yeah, like the plot of that show is that like
he's not beating his wife.
Yeah, but she better stay in line or she's gonna catch all this domestic violence.
She'll catch the fists.
God, like media used to be terrible.
It's crazy that used to be entertainment back then. And everybody just ate it up because they were like, "Yeah, that's our life," you know.
If I talk back to my husband, I get my lights out. Oh,
why am I watching TV? I should go cook this roast.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild. That's relatable to them. You know what I mean? Like they only put entertainment that's relatable to the people. Exactly. So they're like, "Oh, look, babe, that's you. You kick my ass.
I haven't knocked your lights out yet."
Yeah. Dude,
look how good you have it.
Is my shirt pressed for tomorrow?
That's so wild.
God, what the fuck are we talking about?
The love tension,
right?
Sexual connection.
So because it's Japanese media and they're semi like not LGBTQ friendly, I think if it were any other piece of media, like Leo and Gallo totally would have like been together at a certain point. But it being Japanese, they're like, whoa, wait, we can't be that progressive. Whoa.
You guys are asking too much.
You're lucky you're even seeing like the sexual tension on screen. We can't say it straight out.
We can give you traps, and that's all you get.
Yeah. You get traps or nothing. Yeah. Like, would you rather have the nothing? No. Give us traps. So that's the dynamic here. Is like just like through our sexual bond together, we can produce a hyper strong robot. So like Gallo like pumps his sexual energy for Gallo into the machine and turns it super cool. It looks like the robot from Gurren Lagann. Yeah. It looks like the mecha from Gurren Lagann,
except it even gets big as fuck.
Except it has a different color palette, which they give it like a sumo samurai like
helmet piece.
Yeah, like a helmet piece, like a crescent moon looking thing. And like it starts fighting with the umbrella thing that you see in the second half of season 1 of Fire Force, which is like it's taken from the same piece of Japanese media that we were describing earlier. So they start just beating the shit out of the robot that is using the burnish as a battery source to create like the interdimensional wormhole.
Because it's not only a ship; it's also a mecha.
Yeah. So they start beating the shit out of the head, and Craig Forsyth turns it into a mecha. Just the head turns into a mecha, and it's somehow bigger than the Deus Ex Machina robot, and it starts beating the shit out of our guys. And not only that, it has these giant cannons that appear out of it, which are these absolute zero cannons. So Craig Forsyth aims the mecha robot with the 0 degree Kelvin cannon at the robot that has Gallo and Leo in it. Misses. It hits a volcano in the background, and the volcano turns to solid ice, and that's meant to show us like how scary it is and how powerful the zero cannon is.
If your temperature is on a K, it's dangerous.
So then, the big gimmick here is that they kind of just go straight forward into the zero cannon, and just because Gallo's just such a badass and knows to stand up to the Zero Frost chill, and like implants the open fire socket to the robot. So
like a docking.
So Gallo and Leo are in their cannon, right? And it has all this armor around it, and they're going straight into the zero ice cannon. And pieces start flying off, and Leo's yelling at Gallo, being like, "Yo, what are you doing? Start dodging the blast, like, or we're gonna die." And Gallo's just like, "Just stick with it." So what Aldo's talking about is like the fist on the right arm like melts off from it so cold, and he like docks the open area to the cannon, to the power machine, into Cray Foresight's machine, and that like reverse engineers the zero frost, and it causes like an internal explosion into the mecha, into both sides of the mechas. So we think
I couldn't have said it any better.
It's so hard to describe. Like you kind of have to see it. Like
it's what you said, but animated.
Yeah. So it's like, fuck. I'm sorry. It's from there on out, like both mechas are destroyed, right? And Cray Foresight comes out and he's yelling at the guys, and Gallo and Leo are like, "But we beat you, just stop." And that's where we get the big reveal that Aldo was leading up to, which is that Cray Foresight was actually a mad burnish this whole time. And he's probably even stronger than Fire Jesus himself, Leo. And
he's like Fire Satan.
And he had one arm this whole time. Because the fire that he saved Gallo in as a child, he lost his arm. Mm-hmm. But what actually happened is kind of like Shanks from One Piece. But actually, he, being a burnish, burned so hot that he burned off his own fucking arm.
Oh, shit.
And he caused the fire that killed Gallo's whole family.
Oh, okay. You know what's damn it. I wish I said it earlier. I was going to say earlier, I was like, how much in a bet he's the one that caused the fire? Damn it. I should have said that.
Exactly. Well, so he's a fucking bad guy, right? Like, he, describes the fire that he created that kills Gallo's whole family. It's because Burnish have this innate desire just to burn everything. And that's why that's his explanation for being racist against Burnish. He's like, I understand that Burnish have the worst sensibilities and they just want to burn people alive and kill them. Because I'm Burnish and I want to murder everybody and kill everybody alive.
You know how long I've been holding on to this feeling?
Exactly.
It takes one to know one.
Exactly. That's exactly what it turns into. So then,
that's funny.
He basically almost kills Leo, on sight. His Burnish power overpowers Leo's Burnish power. But Leo gives his Burnish power to Gallo so that he can't be burned by flames. So,
do they explain that?
No, not really.
It's
just like,
you're right, that does happen.
Adopting somebody's burning, because Cray Foresight essentially tries to burn Gallo alive, but Leo used his Burnish power to give Gallo a protective cloak of fire protection around him. So then our main fire team that Gallo was a part of, that fireman team, gets together again, and they're like, okay, cool, Gallo, we made your suit again, go punch Cray Foresight in the face. So then that's where Gallo kind of they give him a drill a la Gurren Lagann. It's the same plot to Gurren Lagann, where it's just the Lucia character that Aldo was describing earlier, they the mad scientist, small girl character. She's like, don't worry, Gallo, I fitted your mecha with a drill, and you can drill into the center where the Burnish core is, and they're using as the energy source to make the multi-dimensional jump. So, just like Gurren Lagann, which is all about drills, and the metaphor about drills, breaking through different perspectives and different levels, and it's about breaking the socioeconomic cap.
The wall.
Yeah, breaking down the wall, exactly. That was literally the plot to Gurren Lagann. They steal from that all over again, and they're just like, yeah, you're gonna drill straight into the middle of the giant Burnish battery, you're gonna break out Leo, and you're gonna punch Cray Foresight in the face. And that's exactly what happens. So he busts through the spaceship. Leo almost dies, because, he's treated as, the core of the machine, which almost burns out his entity all at once because his Burnish power is so great.
Just like Fire Force, they exceed those limits and they fucking turn to ash.
Yeah, exactly, just like Fire Force. But so Gallo busts in. he stops the battery from going. Leo's basically almost dead on the ground, but like a little embers like on his chest, and Gallo's like, no, blonde boyfriend, don't die, and he's like giving him chest compressions, and he sees the fire on his chest, and he just like puts the flame on Leo's chest inside of his mouth, and then mouth to mouth resuscitates Leo, putting that flame that he just took off his chest into his mouth, which recuperates Leo and brings him back to life.
Crazy stuff.
Did they ever explain that?
No.
I
think it was an excuse for them to kiss, to be honest.
It seems like a power, but it's definitely to make him kiss.
I think that sounds like it was to satisfy the crowd. Because you know how you said everybody was like, oh, these guys should be good. And then they were just like, well, but this is what it was.
Here's where it gets annoying. That one friend zones each other at the end. This is why it gets annoying. So then, like... they go back to where Craig Forsyth is, and Craig Forsyth is just like, Gallo, you're not dead? Leo, you're not in the machine? But like, his arm looks super crazy. Like, it's like the super demented looking fire black thing. Like how,
something from Silent Hill.
Like something from Silent Hill, but it reminds me of like how Leo in his Mad Burnish armor is like all black.
Yes.
Except like Craig Forsyth just has this giant fucking burnish arm.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gallo...
What's that one game? Prototype. Isn't that like Prototype?
Yeah, like Prototype kind of. So, like, Craig Forsyth just tries blasting Gallo and just burning him to bits. But Gallo still has, like, Leo's protective fire suit, which, again, they never explained. And he just kind of, like, survives it. And because he now has, like, this fire force field around, just starts beating the shit out of Craig Forsyth, just, like, punching him into the ground and shit. It reminds me of, like, that scene in One Piece where Luffy punched one of the celestial dragons.
Oh,
just,
dude.
like, super... like...
But that scene was fucking
like in the beginning where I was describing, like, Promare has a lot of music, like a lot of music everyone. It's probably like my second favorite part of the movie. This is like the one part that there's no music. That like right after Craig Forsyth realizes he can't burn Gallo, the music stops for like a split second just to like show you the impact of Gallo just beating the shit out of him. Just like, bitch, like just punches him into the ground, breaking like the concrete beneath them. Just to show you that power. Which the scene in One Piece I'm describing all though is the plot to One Piece at a certain point turns into like there's a
how hard he can punch.
There's a world government.
Yes.
There's a world government and racism and like there's slavery and they're selling people into slavery, which of course is nothing what Luffy's about, being our good-hearted protagonist. The first time he sees that shit in person, like a literal slave trade, he punches a world leader in the face so hard that like breaks the dimensions of like how they animate One Piece for like a split second. Like it turns
black and white,
just black and white, and just line work. Like no actual like solid models, just line work, and it's crazy.
He hit him so hard he would turn back to fucking manga. That shit was wild.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit was crazy
for real. Like I saw that in a thread on Twitter the other day. It was just like post your biggest anime punches ever right here, and it shows like the time Naruto punched Sasuke during their big fight at the end of the main Naruto series, not Shippuden. And it's just like, dude, that's nothing. Like, the time, like, Luffy punched a celestial dragon in the face was, like, the end-all, be-all of, like, hard punches.
That shit was fucking crazy. Who would it... never mind. I'm not gonna say nothing like that.
So then, this is where we finally start winding down the plot to Promare.
Yeah.
We had these giant mecha fights. We had these giant fire demon dragon fights.
And it's been an hour and, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was the plan. To overthrow the world government from like letting the planet destroy itself and like sending everybody to a different planet. But then we still haven't solved the problem that the world is going to explode because of the Promare power inside of the Earth's core. Right? And that's even the shit that they were giving like Craig Forsyth being like, why can't you use this absolute zero machine and just aim it at the Earth's core and stop it from imploding? It's just, this machine's not strong enough. I can't do that. So then Leo Fotia, when he was part of the Promare core, part of the battery, he was able to hear the spirits of all Promares. And Promares are just like a spirit that lives inside of the earth and like possesses people and gives them this firepower.
It connects everything and anyone.
Right. So that's when he learns that the Promare of Earth just wants to be able to like ignite one time and burn all of its energy so bright so that it will never explode again. So then, Leo and Gallo have to become a giant mecha again, but entirely encompassed out of Leo's power. And they end up making a mecha that burns so bright and possesses so much of the Promare power that it starts possessing their will. So Leo, being the Promare advocate, wishes that he could burn everything at once and just rescue the world and save it. Gallo wishes, through the will of the Promare, that he could just protect everyone. So what happens is the Promare inside of Earth's core starts igniting. But because of Gallo's will to protect everybody, the people start getting this protective coat around them, just like Leo made for Gallo, that protects them from Promare fire. So that everyone on Earth is protected from this fire. And the whole world starts igniting all at once. And then Leo taps into that giant Promare power inside of Earth's core, creates the mecha again, the Deus Ex Machina, the Gallo S Leo, whatever the fuck they called it. And them wanting to protect the world with Gallo's wish, can do giant absolute zero ice punches. So they turn into a robot the size of planet Earth and start punching it. They start punching at the surface of Earth and start freezing it down to the point that they cause an implosion inside of our solar system, inside of the sun's solar system. That the Promare power lights the sun on fire. It causes that fire from both the sun and the Promare power to ignite all the other inner 4 planets. That they start encompassing and circling back inside of Earth. And that's when, with one last absolute zero ice punch, Gallo and Leo are able to encompass that power back down on Earth, and the burnish power, the Promare power, leaves Leo, leaves every burnish on Earth, and that's the end of the movie.
God damn. That was a lot.
Yeah. And teamwork does the dream work.
Yeah. No,
that's usually how it goes.
It's about these two having such a strong connection, even though knowing each other for only 48 hours, that they could, destroy multiple cataclysmic events.
Yes.
So here's the part that gets me, right? The world's destroyed. The very last scene is the sun rising. The sun's rising on a new day, right? They overthrew the government. There's no more burnish. There's no more reason to be racist like that. Leo is dying on the ground, and it looks like he's reaching out to Gallo. Hold me, kiss me, something like that. and Gallo just kind of gives him a fist bump, a friendly fist bump. Just yeah, bro, we did it. Fist bump. End of movie.
And again, it gave you so much in the span of a movie instead of watching something one of their other productions. It's kind of okay with me.
It's good. I think it's plentiful entertaining.
Yeah. I'm not going to compare it to anything bigger than what they wanted to do, but...
Especially if you know it's Trigger. If you know it's a Studio Trigger production, that in and of itself is a meme in the anime community. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah. And if you're working at walking blind into Promare, it's... Your opinion is still valid.
Yeah. I think it would be kind of surprising what opinions we wouldn't take on Promare.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that was Promare episode 80. Please follow us on IG, Twitter, Between Nerds. Give us an email or shout out, or tell us how you feel about this fucking episode, or just tell us how you feel
in general.
Yeah.
BetweenNerdsPodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, sir. And please, as the last day of January, you use the hashtag nerds. No, down for nerds.
Down for nerds, and don't forget to use the February hashtag in original tweet, Instagram post, or YouTube comment. That is hashtag Nerds for Black Leadership, and we will be donating to the El Paso Young Black Leaders Coalition. So
nice.
Help us out.
Yeah,
very nice.
And we'll see you at the Nerd Down.
Nerd Down.
Nerd Down.
Nerd Down. Welcome to the Nerd Down, where the nerds get down. At the beginning of this bit, we did want to go over our housekeeping notes again. That is, everyone, please use hashtag Down for Nerds. That's DOWNFORNERDS. An original tweet, Instagram post, or YouTube comment to be entered into the end of our January giveaway. We'll get you some tailor-made, like, cool anime shit. And for the month of February, starting February 1st, starting Tuesday, please use hashtag Nerds for Black Leaders. That is, I can't spell that right now, but
and
NERDSBLACKLEADERS.
You forgot the 4.
Yeah,
well, you know it.
But yeah, same thing. Twitter, Instagram, comment, YouTube to be entered in our February giveaway. We'll get you some cool tailor-made stuff. For the month of February, we'll be giving to El Paso Young Black Leaders. It's a local nonprofit. And for the month of January, it's for the Down Syndrome Coalition of the Down Syndrome Coalition of El Paso.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and again, if you're following on YouTube, just like it, subscribe it, use the hashtag there. We'll fucking enter you into the giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the Nerd Down, I mean, we're done with episode 80. Goddamn, that was weird to talk about.
It's weird because, like,
weird to talk about.
We need to start thinking about our season 3 finale, which is going to be crazy. I can, like, the kind of anime we've seen this season for season 3 is going to be insane.
And that's before our 100th
That's
episode.
before our 100th episode. You want to do something special for our 100th episode? We were thinking about doing, like, a D&D campaign. When me and Aldo, apparently I've known Aldo for, like, years before I even remember. But when me and Aldo first started getting, like, close, we were doing, like, weekly D&D campaigns that I would D&D host, right?
But it was, like, the most casual campaign.
It was just, like, to get people into that kind of role-playing, right? But, like, me...
The first... I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. The first time you guys had me play D&D, I love that shit. This was fun.
It's fun. It's
fun, bro.
It's just another thing. And me, as I was, watching pop culture growing around me, I was like, I never got to play any of those games because I would see it in Dexter's Laboratory. I would see it in, like, old school references and, like, on old school cartoons like Ed, Ed and Eddie. Yeah. And I'm like, what's that board game? And I never got around it until, like, later on. I was like, oh, that's D&D. That's what they're playing. And then when I think Stranger Things on Netflix, like, reintroduced it, I was like, I'll be super down to play that. And that's when you came in.
What got me into wanting to try Dungeons and Dragons was me watching Harmon Quest on Verve.
Oh, that show is so funny.
Verve is like an independent, like I don't know, fucking Hulu kind of thing, like where Dan Harmon, the co-creator of Rick and Morty,
I know
kind of has this show where he does a D&D campaign, but they get other local, like, Hollywood celebrities and comedians to, like...
On one of the episodes, they have this one guy who would appear occasionally on one of my all-time favorite improv shows. Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
I can't remember what his name is, but...
The big white guy.
Yeah, the tall white guy with that looked like a rocker and shit. Dude, he was fucking hilarious.
They get the girl from Community, which is, like... There's just a lot of, like, niche comedians that Dan Harmon knows that he's able to recruit for this show. And what they do is they just play Dungeons and Dragons, but Dan Harmon gets some animators to animate the campaign as they're going on. So they're just doing dumbass shit
like Muppets or something like that.
No, it's literal 2D animation.
It's cartoons.
I'm thinking about Crank Yankers.
Yeah. So that's what got me into trying to do D&D. But even now, if we wanted to do an open campaign for, like, just a singular campaign for episode 100, just like a 5-6 hour campaign, like now at locals at TCG Battleground, I know people who do actual D&D campaign hosting, like, weekly. So I'm sure I could ask somebody like that, like, yo, do you have 5-6 hours ready on so and so date? Like, can you meet us up and, like, just host a campaign for me and my friend really quick?
You know what? I think
that sounds hilarious. That sounds awesome.
I think it's a good opportunity to let our listeners know that since we're going to be on the mic for such a long time, we should schedule it before the episode to give them, like, a time, like a time schedule.
What if we live
and see if they can interact with us, like, through Twitter or...
It's because we've never recorded audio through live means. So I don't know if you want to figure that out before then, but...
I'll look it up. I'll see how people do that shit, so I can help you guys out.
I think what Aldo wants to do is kind of like a live nonprofit drive almost. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Peloton.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Oh, I get you. Okay, yeah. Actually, I've seen. I mean, you know who he is, Techie 101. He's done a lot of like fucking life shits like that. So I'll look. I'm not gonna like mess him. But I'll look into how he does.
But even
shit.
if that's right,
because they do a lot of live streams.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
So we have time. We still have 20 weeks to think about it. Like we don't need answers now. But if you know anything, just email us betweennerdpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know anything you want us to know at Between Nerds on every social media handle, including YouTube. But something we did want to talk about was the amazing episode that was this week's episode of Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, which is essentially like a prequel to The Mandalorian Season 3.
Hold on, time out. Is it true that the very first episode, because I haven't seen Boba Fett to be honest, but the very first episode of Boba Fett was in reference to what that one character said in Parks and Recreation? Did you ever see that meme on Twitter?
Just the opening scene.
I'm not gonna lie,
but that's
fucking hilarious.
But that's comic canon.
Oh, okay. That to me, that's fucking funny. Yeah. I just thought that was funny.
You're talking Parks and Recreation where there's like an open forum. Patton Oswalt plays a character that talks in open form where he's basically trying to
filibuster the whole thing.
Yeah, he's trying to filibuster, so he's just talking bullshit. Yeah. And the scene he describes is like, it's Tatooine. The opening sun opens up, and then out from the ground appears Boba Fett's fist, and he opens up from the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, that is how like episode 1 of Boba Fett.
To me, that made me laugh so hard when I read that shit, dude. That was fucking.
But it's tight. It's tight that like Disney for the first time cares about its fan base and cares about like non-canon canon, because I think that was the issue a lot of the time when Disney first took over Star Wars and they took out all the legacy canon. It seemed like a big middle finger to everybody that was a real Star Wars fan, right? But now they're progressively starting to canonize the Star Wars legacy canon. Mm. They're starting to recanonize things in the Disney canon.
Isn't the lore like really massive, right? Like,
no, it's because they eliminated it. Oh, okay. So everything that wasn't part of a film, like all the sub books, all the video games, all that stuff, everything that was a story before Disney bought it, they just threw it away. They were just like, this is no longer canon. That was before they started making episode 7. Yeah, that was
okay.
That was before they made the episode 7 and kind of rebooted the franchise, and they were like, we're not going to be tied in our writing to any of that old canon, so stop bugging us.
It's funny because, like, in the sense like how Marvel bought an already filmed studio. That Disney bought an already named studio, like Marvel Studios, as to something like the literature in Star Wars. They're like, dude, we don't want to spend the money for people to research this shit, so we're gonna fucking turn it new. Because at Marvel Studios, the comic book company had their studios already.
Yeah,
you would think that they were like. I mean, somebody there has to have, like, read something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. To me, it's just, like, some people there have to have done their reading and the research, but to just throw everything out like that is kind of...
That's why so many fans were upset. And that's why I'm glad that they're recanonizing it, because even, like, the actor that plays Boba Fett, the bald guy, like, he's been on record being like, no, if they want to redo all the Clone Wars stuff, if they want to redo the Bad Batch, because in he wants that Disney money.
He wants that bag. Yeah,
that's what I was talking about last week. He just wants that Disney money.
Yeah,
because
you want me to get vaccinated? I'll do it.
And oh god, that was so crazy. Did you hear about the Wasp? Well, I think that was crazy when the vaccinated story I was hearing about was Black Panther season. The second Black Panther movie.
The cousin or the sister?
The sister, the girl that plays Black Panther's sister, who's going to be the new Black Panther since...
Brainiac?
Since What's-His-Face... Yeah, she's going to be the new Black Panther since What's-His-Face died.
Oh, shit, no way. I didn't know that.
Well, production was delayed this whole time because she didn't want to get vaccinated.
I thought she was supposed to be like the new Iron Man.
No, she's...
No.
She's going to be the new Black Panther.
Well, I want to know who's going to be the new War Machine since he's fucking paralyzed, so...
Well, he's still in it doing War Machine stuff.
Is really? Dude,
you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
No, I never did.
He's still walking around. Like, he just has, like, an exosuit, like, for his spinal cord and stuff now.
Oh, shit.
No. He's still War Machine.
Oh, okay. I always wondered.
War Machine is still War Machine.
Oh, okay, because War Machine was tight as fuck. Black and Grace Iron Man? That's tight as fuck.
I was looking through my comics the other day, and I found out the first appearance of Falcon as a Captain America. So, that's cool.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty cool.
But yeah, I think like this episode of Boba Fett was great because it's just the Mandalorian. Like it's just Janice Yaren or whatever the fuck his name is, like
Pedro
Pascal's character, like the Mandalorian, like with Grogu and everything, and it's like trying to lead up to like what season 3 of the Mandalorian is going to be. It's he's still bounty hunting, but he's clearly like trying to set up where he can go get Grogu back. It's I'm tight. I'm excited because it's so tight because it has that Western style back about it. Like it has these long takes. It has the Mandalorian switching between scenery. There's repercussions to season 2 where he was taking off his helmet, but he was supposed to have this creed that he's not about that.
And I like that because on top of that narrative, they put the Grogu narrative. And we've talked about this before. I'm like, we like Grogu, but hopefully he's not super attached.
But now it makes sense because like it's not Mandalorian season 3 unless he gets Grogu back, which seems like what they're leading into because Mando even had his Beskar spear broken down to make armor for the youngling, to make armor for Baby Yoda, to make armor for Grogu, so that he can go get him. And before he can help Boba Fett with his issue, he needs to go get Baby Grogu first.
And it's awesome that you reminded me of that because of what I've been conditioned to is the path of the Force, as we've seen in this past, the trilogy, the prequels, and the
right, because the sequels do a lot more with like the Force is more fluid. Like I don't know if that sounds corny, but like the prequels and like the original trilogy makes it seem like no, there's the light side and the dark side. That's it.
And honestly, that's what I used to think.
And what you made me realize is that when you were like, "Oh, he's definitely going back for Grogu," and I'm like, "But the Jedi, like he can't have attachment to anything," and then you were like, "Yeah, but maybe he has another path to follow," and then you mentioned like the color of the lightsabers, and I was like, "Cool, maybe he has a purple lightsaber."
Well, maybe not, but like the purple lightsaber literally only happened because what's his name?
Samuel Jackson.
I almost said Samuel L. Fox.
Windu.
I almost said Samuel L. Fox because Samuel Jackson like just wanted a purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
So they had to create a canon around Samuel Jackson just wanting a purple lightsaber.
Wasn't the story behind it like because he was you couldn't tell whether he was leaning more towards the light or
that was the canon they created.
Yeah.
The canon they created for the purple lightsaber is that like yes, he's a Jedi, like it's not red, like he's not a Sith. But
he can like
he's emotional. Yeah. He can snap and like he could be a bad guy if he wanted to. But
I'm a rebel.
And that's why in like episode 9 I like that they gave Rey like the gold lightsaber.
For a long time I thought that lightsaber colors were attached to sword fighting style.
They are and there aren't. They're tied. The current canon, the canon that it used to be, was that the color of your kyber crystal would change based on your personality, based off the energy you're giving to it. The current canon is that your personality, your affinity to the Force, will let you find a certain color of kyber crystal, depending on your affinity to the Force.
Yes,
right?
But even before I knew about that, I thought that it was like I don't know why I had like embedded in my head that the purple lightsaber meant Master Sword.
Well, let me finish. That's what I'm saying. There is a canon behind the colors. So, like, your personality will lead you to the kyber crystal of a certain color, and that color of that color will lead you to like a certain style within the Force, right? So, Anakin Skywalker had a blue lightsaber. The blue lightsaber when it comes to light side affinity means you're a fighter. You're fighting for the light side. You're very good in hand-to-hand combat. You're good in lightsaber combat. When Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy gets his green lightsaber, which it wasn't his dad's blue lightsaber, the green lightsaber means that you're less about fighting. You're more about being attuned to the Force itself, to the light side of the Force. That's the green lightsaber, which is Force affinity, which is why Yoda in the prequel trilogy has a green lightsaber, because he's Force affinity.
Is it more like you're more... Because you know how like Yoda's always like you have to be detached from things? Is it more because like Luke was more able to be detached from things? Because you know Anakin was attached.
Well, it's because Luke was just like embodying himself inside of the life force of the universe. Anakin wanted to use the light side of the Force to be the best fighter for the light side, the best fighting Jedi.
Okay, I get you.
So, and that's why Mace Windu has like a purple lightsaber. But it's part of legacy lore, which isn't part of current lore, which was what Aldo's talking about, that there's like 7, maybe 9 like lightsaber combat styles.
Oh, okay.
No, lightsaber combat styles.
Oh.
So that's why what's his name? Obi-Wan fights in lightsaber combat number 2, which is a defensive style.
I was gonna say,
so when you see when you see him fight, it's like solid poses. He fights very defensively. He's waiting for you to create an opening.
You know who he reminds me of is Rebecca from the Coliseum.
Yeah,
One Piece. That's like exactly how I picture him fighting.
Yeah,
always waiting for you to fuck up, and then he's gonna capitalize on that.
Well, that's how he is. So that's why, like in the fight against Anakin in Episode 3, he's fighting very defensively. So that's why it seems like the entirety of like the 20-minute lightsaber fight, it seems like Obi-Wan's losing because he's fighting on the defensive. He's fighting backwards, like he's just parrying like Anakin's blows, right? Mm-hmm. Anakin was fighting in lightsaber style 5, which was like very dramatic and like overbearing and like just wide swings that you couldn't really block. Which
trying to like overpower
haymakers.
Yeah, just haymakers, which like kind of leads into lightsaber fighting style number 7, which was like kind of what Yoda and like Darth Sidious do, which is like a bunch of flips and kicks and like it's so like hyper offensive. There's no need for a defensive because like your defense is people just trying to block your offense, right? And that's why, like, Darth Vader, when he becomes, like, Darth Vader with all his appendages, is lightsaber fighting style number 3, which is just, like, the haymakers. Like,
and then
Mike Tyson your ass.
Yeah, he's just
getting... And his stand is, like...
Yeah, it's just, like, over-the-shoulder throws. It's just, like, big, just, like, punches down the side. Like, the power of my Force is so strong, you can't even block this kind of stuff.
Which, this conversation about, like, the combat styles with lightsabers... comes in very heavily here with The Mandalorian.
Yeah, because the thing is, what I almost forgot, like, because the Mandalorian season 2 ended like 2-3 years ago already. Is he got the Darksaber at the end of the Mandalorian season 2, which I like completely forgot about. And right now he has the Darksaber, but he can't use it because it's still a kyber crystal saber, even though it's not a Jedi sword, but it's still powered by the Force being powered through a kyber crystal. He has no affinity for the Force. And only that, he's fighting against the Force. So he can't control it. So, like, the very first scene is this badass fucking scene inside of, like, a fucking meat fridge where the Mando's trying to catch a bounty.
Collect the bounty.
And he busts out the Darksaber. But it's so heavy in his hands, even though it's like this fucking 12-inch hilt and this kyber crystal power, he can't control it because it's so heavy in his hands because he has no affinity for the Force.
It's like the Hammer of Thor, kind of play on it but
lesser so because the hammer.
Lesser so because as he is wielding this sword, the sword
has a will of its own, kind of.
Your attack, your defense has to be on point, like a rap flow or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's weird.
But yeah, because like he has a training sequence, CJ, where like the armorer of his Mandalorian sect, who he finds again, which was the whole point for him performing the bounty. He's trying to find his hidden sect. She's the armorer from season 1 of Mandalorian is trying to teach him like how to swing his sword, but it's so heavy in his hands because the Force or the Darksaber or whatever knows that there's some kind of weighing thought on his mind. Like he's not giving himself to wielding the Darksaber. Like Baby Yoda's on his mind, Grogu's on his mind. The weight of the people, the weight of not knowing where the rest of the Mandalorians are.
Demon Slayer's sword techniques.
Right. So like he can't wield the sword properly and it's so heavy in his hands that he can't even parry blocks. Because like the force is holding him against, is like pressing down against him. It's like trying to throw a punch underwater. Like the weight of that water is pushing down on your fist, so you can't swing it properly.
As hard as you
And now that I think about it, the armor, the one lady, it just reminds you of like your blacksmith from every video game ever. Like no matter where you are, is the same blacksmith. Oh, you're here today. Let me make this for you.
It reminds me of
Skyrim.
No, it reminds me of what's his fame from
Pokemon.
No, what's his face from Game of Thrones?
Judy the Cop.
The dwarf from Game of Thrones. The actor?
Peter
Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because he's an armor smith. He's a blacksmith.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, when he appeared as a fucking giant, that shit made me laugh so hard.
Well, that's what I mean. Like when he creates Thor's hammer, that character says the same things to Thor, where he's just like, no, like the weapon's gonna know your intentions. It's gonna know what you're about. That's kind of how like the armor smith in the Mandalorian right now is being treated. Like it's like she's like a sage.
The Darksaber is treated.
Yeah, because the thing about the Darksaber is I didn't finish past like episode like 10 of Star Wars Rebels, which like a lot of the lore in this episode comes out of Star Wars Rebels, so I had to like research it on my own because I just didn't like the animation style of Star Wars Rebels after like it was started being produced on Disney Plus or whatever.
Hyper stylish.
Not even hyper stylized because like Star Wars Clone Wars.
It was those like dark black outlines.
It started doing the big heads, the big outline.
It
didn't. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
It was one of those standoutish things.
Right, but even compared to Star Wars Clone Wars, it didn't like Star Wars Clone Wars didn't seem too like kid focused. Like it never felt like juvenilized.
No,
Star Wars Rebels feels like that.
No, yeah, I've been watching Star
Wars
Clone Wars.
Star
Wars Clone Wars always feels like this is not just for kids. Like, yo, anybody can watch.
But Star Wars Rebels does feel like that.
Yeah,
and that's why I couldn't get into Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, okay.
In the canon, there is that there is a sub-member of the Mandalorian sect that gets the Darksaber in Star Wars Rebels, but she never won it through combat, which means that it cursed her leadership. Bo-Katan cursed her own leadership by not winning the Darksaber through combat, to the point that caused the end of Mandalore, which is the planet that the Mandalorians lived on. Because the main service was completely encompassed in glass, because from like thousands and thousands of years of Mandalorians like causing nuclear warfare on each other, the whole glass was like so heated and glassified that like you couldn't live there. So the entire population of Mandalore lived in a dome the size of like North America, and that's where they all lived, and that's where like they were all killed by the new empire or whatever the fuck they're called.
Okay.
So
not only that, their planet had badass iron, steel.
Right, so that's where the Beskar steel comes from.
Oh, okay.
And the armor smith for the Mandalorian sect has a follower that like is
he's voiced by Jon Favreau.
He's voiced by Jon Favreau, who's also the lead producer for Boba Fett and The Mandalorian. so like he made sure to put himself in the shows.
He's trying to get that money, though. Yeah,
and that character, his family created the Darksaber.
Right. So
they blacksmith the Darksaber.
Somewhere down in his lineage, one of the leaders of Mandalore, the Mandalorian, the leader of Mandalore, was an ex-Jedi. So him being an ex-Jedi and being the leader of Mandalore made him make a saber that could be wielded by Mandalorians, which is where the Darksaber comes from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
So
piecing the puzzles together.
This like offshoot of the ex-leader of Mandalore that made the Darksaber challenges the Mandalorian to a death by battle for the Darksaber. Because if the armor smith is making a point to be like, no, like our planet is destroyed because the person that assumed leadership of Mandalore
got it the same way as you.
Yeah, did not actually receive the Darksaber properly. You have to win it by combat. So he challenges the Mandalorian to single-hand combat. Like, the Mandalorian even busts out the Darksaber, but he can't wield it because it's so heavy in his hands. And this other Mandalorian is wielding, like, a vibrating blade and stuff like that. But he loses the fight, the challenging Mandalorian, because he is so hyper focused on the Darksaber that even when he picks it up, he can't wield it. It's so heavy. It's even heavier than it is in Mando's hands. Like, he can't wield it at all. He has no affinity for that kyber crystal inside of that saber, to the point that, like, Mando can just, like, start stabbing his legs, start stabbing him in the side, and, like, puts the vibrating knife to his neck, and is just like, "Are you done? Are you sick of your shit?" And that's where the armorer has a real talk with the Mandalorian. It's just like, are you following the rules of our sect? Have you ever taken your helmet off? When we saw Bo-Katan, she takes her helmet off all the time. She doesn't even give a shit. Yeah, she doesn't even give a shit. But it's not real Mandalorian, like, religious culture.
And we know that the Mandalorian is trying to follow that creed. Like, that's what he holds dearest to his personality, to his self.
And a big reason nerds were so mad at the end of season 2 is because there's, like, 3 separate points that the Mandalorian takes his helmet off.
And this is to your point that you like that there's repercussion to his actions, because right now, not only one of the last people of his quote unquote religion, quote unquote creed, she asked him, "Have you ever taken off your helmet?" It's like, yes.
He can't lie to her. Like, it's like lying to your pastor or something. Like, he's just like, yeah. I did take my helmet off, yeah.
And for a second, you think he might lie, but then the second you're like, nah. He's gonna tell the truth. He never would. And to the lore of the Mandalore and the Mandalorians is that the Mandalorian here, he asked the armorer, "Is there any way I can redeem myself?" It's like the only way, and then she responds with, "The only way you can redeem yourself is through giving yourself to the springs or like Catholic confession to the springs." Yeah, of
Mandalore. Underneath the mines of Mandalore. Right, which did remind me of like some religious like subtext there, like traditional Catholic subtext a little bit. But the thing about Mandalore is we just described the whole planet's been destroyed by the government. So it's like, so that's leading up to season 3. It's like he needs to grab baby Grogu, take him back. They're gonna work together to like try to get into the mines of Mandalore.
And one of your points about Grogu, even before that fight, the armor was talking to the Mandalorian about Grogu. It's like, hey, he's a Jedi.
Yeah.
It's like he can't have attachment to anybody. And then Mando is like, well, that's the opposite of our creed.
Yeah.
I need to know where he is because he was with me for so long.
I think the exact quote from the Mandalorian is like, that's the opposite of our creed because our creed is about solitarianism
and loyalty.
And loyalty, right. And so, that was a big part of the prequel trilogy in Star Wars was like Anakin Skywalker had too much loyalty, had too much solidarity for the people he loved. He loved Padme too much. He loved Obi-Wan too much. Like you're like.
I mean, but it's understandable because I mean, you make so much closer. I mean, you're with somebody for so long, you're gonna make it.
But like, in what difference is between the Mandalorian and Grogu is that in Anakin's case, he became darkened by those feelings.
Yeah.
Here we see the other side of the coin to like the Mandalorian, not wishing him an evil path or anything like that, but he's like, you are one of ours and we're cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're a Jedi, yeah, attachment and shit like that, it doesn't count, but he wants him to know that he's protected. And do I believe season 3 is coming to a reunion? Hopefully it does.
I can't see a season 3 of The Mandalorian without Grogu. I really
Hopefully can't. It does, but if he's making an armor for him, I think that the best choice to go would be with a see you later kind of situation instead of you're here with me all the time. It's a dual Batman and Robin kind of thing.
I don't think we'll know until like 3 weeks from now, but we'll keep talking about we'll keep talking about Boba Fett until then. I almost said the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
but something else I did want to talk about is I did finally watch Snatch 2 nights ago. The
Guy Ritchie.
The 2000 Guy Ritchie film starring Brad Pitt, starring the guy from what's his name? Drive. That's what's his name?
Edward Norton.
Edward, the bald white guy?
Yeah, because I was
sorry.
like,
I thought you were talking about Fight Club.
What am I talking about?
You're talking about Snatch. Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
I was gonna say because that's not Drive.
No. It's totally the kind of movie that I can understand why people like it as a period piece from 2000, but it's in no way the kind of movie I could ever see being produced in the year 2022.
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
Like it likes sitting in its stereotypes for whatever reason.
And I feel like we've talked about this like off mic, but like it's never really talked about how Romanians are being stereotyped as gypsies.
Right. So did. So Snatch came out in 2000, right? I kept thinking about the 2015 show Peaky Blinders, which like Snatch is also about like gang members living in England in like the 90s and stuff like that, in like the 80s or 70s, whatever the fuck it is, I don't know. So Peaky Blinders is that same kind of thing, like gang members living in 1940s London area, being a gang society made of gypsies, right? In Snatch, the minority group, the gypsies here, are treated like ignorant, but like that they themselves know that they're portrayed as ignorant, so they'll try to play the system to their advantage. Peaky Blinders is like the opposite, where it's like, I know everybody knows that they think I'm stupid because I'm a gypsy, so I'm just gonna keep like shooting everybody in the fucking kneecaps because I'm such a badass fucking gang member. Snatch will treat it like...
They con everybody.
Yeah, they con it seems really sneaky. Like, the opening scene is with people pretending to be stereotypes of Jews.
And
like,
then again... Well, yeah, there's a whole Jew aspect to this thing because they're stealing jewels from Jews. So it's like...
But it's not only that. It's that, like, Jews only have these expensive jewels because they're so conniving and tricky, and like there's this whole, and like they all have big noses.
They make a character for that,
but they all have these very specific like way of speaking, like the 1990s like New York Jew kind of talk. Like they want it to be super ignorant, and like in 2000, I feel like it's literally the last time you get away with something like this. If you tried to produce this film in 2022, there's no way you could portray Jewish characters like this.
And then they do, and then they do the same thing with British black people.
Yeah,
with like the stereotype of a British fucking guy, and he's just like,
but he's still black. He's like, what do you mean? They're black guys in the street. How would you not be able to point them out of a crowd?
And then they also make the same thing with the American guys.
Yeah.
So it's like a stereotype Super Smash Brothers going on.
But like, I remember there being a narrative around just like 2 or 3 years ago when Uncut Gems came out, and Adam Sandler was portraying a Jewish character who was a jeweler, who was participating in illegal gem trading because he's not because he's Jewish, but because he owned like a gem store, right?
It seemed like a movie about greed. You know what I mean?
But I remember there being the narrative, like on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that, like Adam Sandler being a prominent Jewish actor could have been one of the few people as a comedian also that could portray this character, because like anybody else, like a non-Jewish character, could never have done this without it being like air quotes canceled or being like too offensive to put on TV.
Yeah, I get you.
Because like, and that's the thing here, like Brad Pitt's in the film as one of these minority like gypsy characters,
and the most
ignorant way
like
possible,
scamming of them all.
But like it's like that Scarlett Johansson thing, how the internet keeps getting mad, being like, why can't Scarlett Johansson just play like white women all the time? She's always playing like Japanese women or white men, or you know what I mean? And it's that same kind of thing where I can imagine 2022. Oh, Brad Pitt portrays racist, stereotypical gypsy minority character in film, and that being like a really big issue, because like I don't think Brad Pitt does a really good accent for this type of character. I don't think it seems hella PC either. It's just It seems like he was given the stage direction to be so exaggerant with his gypsy portrayal that it seemed like a caricature of like this type of peoples. But that's not the kind of thing that's like allowed in 2022 anymore.
Like and then again, like the context of these characters is put into like a Grand Theft Auto story. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like, what's it called? Vice City specifically.
Yeah, so it just you're looking at this and you're like, I feel like I'm playing fucking Vice City.
Yeah, exactly. Which in Vice City was famously the same thing, like super not PC and like about the culture at the time. Mm-hmm. Like it was meant to feel ignorant as fuck, and that's how Snatch feels. It's like it's just about people trying to like steal gems from like these Jewish connoisseurs and like they're fixing boxing matches and that's it.
It's like GTA without gameplay.
Yeah. And like I could see why it's a popular film. Like don't get me wrong. Like I see the value in Snatch. But at the same time I'd be well pressed to hear like people defend the film because I can't hear a defense outside of like, well, it was made in 2000.
But you know what I appreciate about Guy Ritchie movies? And not so much for his latest Jason Statham film. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But Wrath of Man.
Yeah, Wrath of Man. Yeah, Wrath of Man. Good. I honestly, that's his most Guy Ritchie movie that it feels like Promare. It's like, oh, so you're putting everything that is Guy Ritchie into one movie. Okay, I get it, but I didn't like it. But like Guy Ritchie movies, I really love because not only does it have a stupid ass crazy plot, it's fast paced. It's something that challenges your attention span almost.
Yeah,
because you have to listen to dialogue. It's like Bakemonogatari is just like
it's like bullying you with words almost,
and it's just like British accents lingo.
But that's how like modern dramas feel. Like whenever I watch, like even I just talked about Peaky Blinders. That's exactly how something like Peaky Blinders feels. Like it's just this influx of being like good actors with good dialogue, just like being shoved in your face, and you're just like, I get it. Like it's fine. It's let me just relax and watch the show for a little bit. But watching Snatch, my thought like immediately was like, this feels like watching anime almost. Like because it's so extra. It's so like over the top with its writing style, with its directing style, with its character design. Thank you. Like it's such like this extra piece of media that it's like it feels like watching anime. Which in like the best way possible. Like if you were to, if somebody came to you and it was like, what is anime? And you're like, it's just animation produced in Japan. Like it's not that special of a definition. It's just like, oh well, I have this really specific idea of what anime is. It's like this super dramatic, stylized, violent form of animated media, which reminds me of Dragon Ball. It reminds me of American media like Avatar. It reminds me of what's it called? Indestructible. No, what's it called? What do I think of? Undisputed? No.
Undisputed. Yeah, the DC animation.
What's that called?
Style.
Invincible. It reminds me of Invincible, right? But like those weren't produced in Japan, so they're not technically anime, and it feels like a really loose definition. But like that. Huh?
The one on Amazon Prime?
Yes. But see, that's how like Snatch feels. Like it's just so extra. It's such like a stylization. It's a caricature of a caricature of a caricature of a type of writing that it's like it's own thing.
It's wild. It's like a Tarantino movie.
That's what I was just saying.
Like
and that's how Tarantino is too. Yeah.
You know? It's just weird. And I know you've been getting pressed because we know Dommy is always asking the question.
Dude, I was literally
have you ever seen Snatch?
Yes.
And at some point this drew down to watch Snatch. It's like, what can Snatch can be that this guy's always fucking mentioning it? There's not really something special about it, but it's like a niche point in film culture
right?
That is like, Snatch.
But see, exactly, like, that's what almost reminds me of, like, what I was trying to describe with How I Met Your Mother earlier. Like, it's like a meme in and of itself. Like, it's a bunch of...
Within film.
Yeah, it's a bunch of inside jokes amongst like film buffs almost. Like, that's how Snatch feels. Like, I can see that. But, like, this is totally the kind of thing that, like, has a lot of stereotypes and, like, cancelable things that are there. Like, they're not defendable. Like,
Yeah.
like, there's some films that you can hear people complain about, and you're like, you're reaching on that one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a reach. Like, I can understand where you're coming from, but you're kind of reaching. This feels like, at the time, it wanted to be offensive.
Like, anything before Shrek, you're reaching. Anything before Shrek, you're reaching.
For real. And with that, like, something me and CJ are really excited about is Pokemon Legends Arceus came out this past weekend.
That shit looks like GTA 2, bro.
But see, that's what it's like literally described as Breath of the Wild, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but Pokemon, which is like the most amazing blend of like products I could even imagine.
Yeah, honestly.
Because like I know like I've been mildly interested in Pokemon video game championship culture, VGC culture, like competitive Pokemon game playing for a while. Ever since Sword and Shield came out, even before that, but I never owned the consoles at the time. The thing about Pokemon Legends Arceus that a lot of people are pressed about is like they removed the entire move pool out of like 400 something Pokemon attacks. You're left with like 80 something. You have a very limited Pokemon pool. The fighting style is completely different because now you have a mix of like agile and strong attack styles, which is supposed to lead to like another like dynamic to fighting. The gameplay itself is mainly left to world building, which is why it's felt like Breath of the Wild, as opposed to what Pokemon used to be, which was like gameplay between like PvP style characters, right? So what we're left with is something which is totally in the correct direction, like world building of Pokemon, but then half of the audience, like the VGC audience, the competitive audience, is not included right now, which is why a lot of people are getting
upset. Yeah, which I mean, I get why, because I mean the aspect of Pokemon, as far as we've known for like, I mean, how many years it's been around since like the fucking 90s and shit. So it's like people have always been like, no, we have to battle. That's been like the main point of Pokemon.
That's not the point of Legends Arceus.
No, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo, outside of their open world version of the game, I'm sure they can open up like a lobby like Warzone in like Call of Duty that you have a completely different running software on it. Yeah. So they'll probably do that later on as a DLC.
That's a lot of people I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's a lot of people are speculating that they do. Like, people are wondering if they're going to be able to add, like, because I mean, who doesn't want to be able to run around in Breath of the Wild environment with Pokemon with your friends and shit? Like,
and honestly, the lobbies don't even have to be that big.
Well, I think
if you have like 6 players in each lobby as a Switch player,
that'd be pretty, yeah.
You know?
I think that's the same argument why a lot of people are mad about like Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel right now. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is meant to be the most real simulated rendition of what actual in-person gameplay of Yu-Gi-Oh! The trading card game is, right? But it's currently not. Like, it's currently played in a best of one format. It has a custom ban list, which is not the current ban list for either format. Either the OCG, the official card game, like what they're playing in Japan and China and Hong Kong and stuff like that, or the trading card game, which they're playing in like North America and stuff like that. It's a custom ban list between both. It's a custom card pool that doesn't include all of the current cards. And the current rank ladder is, because it's a best of one format, in regular Yu-Gi-Oh! It's best of 3, so you have an extra set of 15 cards, side deck cards, that you can put in for very specific like matchups. But in a best of one format, those hyper specific matchups have no counter because you aren't able to put in your side deck cards. So it feels like a more toxic format, and it's neither a blend for like competitive players because of that aspect, because it's not actual competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not an actual format for introductory players because it has a very toxic format because there's no counterplay for a lot of the things that are in the format.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I think Pokemon Legends Arceus needs like additional campaigns, additional expansions, maybe needs there's no way to make the current format competitive.
I think they're gonna do like they're gonna do their version of Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
But they're gonna take it more as a session in D&D. Unlike a regular Battle Royale.
See, what I'm thinking is what they might
like
do
a raid.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. Like, you know how in Sword and Shield you can go into a raid with like you and 3 other people, and then you battle certain. I think that's the most I want to say like co-op Pokemon Legend Arceus is gonna go. I think it's gonna be more or less like you guys can go around and then you guys like raid, do a little quick mission journey, whatever, and then fight a boss, and then I think that's just like I think that's the furthest extent that it's gonna go, in my opinion, at least.
No, I agree. It's just I think this is a great jumping off point because people have been complaining for like a decade already about how stale the Pokemon franchise has gotten and how it's just the same game all over again with different Pokemon. Yeah.
I get it.
That's what we all thought it was for forever. And I get that like why they're trying to revamp what a Pokemon game means, which it feels like this is the closest iteration to that.
And they're still trying to push their card game, but it's not as successful as something like Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, well, the top 3 trading card games in the world are Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Magic the Gathering.
Oh, okay.
But it depends what you're including as income. Mm-hmm. So Magic the Gathering is number 1 in the U.S. by like a long shot. Like a long shot. And that's only if you're including physical card game sales. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Whenever they're in their promotional mindset and they're like, we're the most successful trading card game in the world, blah, 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 blah. They're counting digital sales of their trading card game at the time. Which, like, at the time was this thing called Duel Links, which is like micro Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it's a smaller format, smaller card pool, smaller zones. You can play less cards in a given turn. It's meant as like bite-sized mobile Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is why it was on an app. But like microtransactions and like the
Konami shit.
The Konami shit, the effect of it being a gacha game, like if you're including sales from there, they're the number 1 card game in the world. But that's just like fucking capitalism kind of definitions of what the actual card game is, right? Because if you're including microtransactions in the online simulators, Pokemon's probably like the least, like especially in North America. But like in the world, Pokemon's probably second, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably first, and that's just because of the mobile platforms and what they're selling. Like, because if Master Duel ends up being really successful, and they end up updating it with a best of 3 format, the actual ban list, and like you can select what ban list you want, like Konami and Yu-Gi-Oh! Will probably be the number 1 Yu-Gi-Oh! Like trading card game in the world.
Even giving you like a profile to log into.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what upsets me most about where Master Duel is right now. Like you, CJ and Aldo, I keep like stressing why I want you to play Master Duel, because I want you to learn how to play the game.
I've been playing.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I think Master Duel is the best way for you to learn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh!
The basics,
because it's a hard fucking game to play,
dude.
Like compared to Magic, compared to Pokemon, it's literally the hardest trading card game to play.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. Some of the things that they've been explaining, because I'm straight up, the only Yu-Gi-Oh! I understand was from like season 1, season 2 type things. So all the new things that they've been bringing out, and like all the like.
But you said the word new, but you're describing mechanics that were created 20 years ago.
Yeah, I get.
You get what I mean?
Like new to me because I'm never
like these mechanics were introduced in like 2007. It's 2022.
Dude, I've
like
never seen any of these things.
So like synchro summoning, Exceed summoning, link summoning, pendulum summoning, like this is just how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played right now. It's such a breakneck fucking game because there's no mana format, there's no energy format. Like if you have the card in hand, you can play it immediately as soon as the conditions are met, which is why people hate Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's such a breakneck fucking format compared to Hearthstone, compared to Magic, compared to everything else. And that's why I'm hoping they actually make it and update it how the game is played right now. Because right now, you can only get to Platinum 1 in ranked format. Like the story mode, super linear. It feels like a beta, which I'm hoping it is a beta because the official release date they gave us was February 28th.
I was about to say, like, even like the smartest decision will be to make like a subscription based game that if you log in and you are a player, pay a subscription so you can pay the real game.
No, well, it's different because they turned it into a gacha game. Kind of, which is why it's upsetting. Because it's like, we will give you a certain amount of free gems, and with set gems, you can buy packs that are randomized. So it feels like gambling in real life, right? But like, those randomized packs, you're not guaranteed the cards that you actually wanted. So that's why it's a gacha game. That's what, like I agree.
It incentivizes people to like, oh fuck, I didn't get it this pack.
Yeah, microtransactions. Yeah.
But see, that's what I'm saying. I agree with Aldo that the best user experience would have been a subscription service. But it being Konami, like money grubby Konami, like they will try to milk all the money they can out of it. So they're
sounds like Rockstar.
No, and like Rockstar a little bit, but Rockstar doesn't have like
Rockstar. No, you're talking about EA.
Yeah,
EA is microtransaction.
Because the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh is there's 10,000 cards in the game right now, 10,000 different cards, and they will randomize it to a point that like it the only way for them to make money right now is capitalizing on how many cards are in the game right now. If what I talk about with Aldo all the time is through text, I was trying to just like bug Aldo to learn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and he was like, "Well, I don't know if you could lend me a deck or this and that. I could lend you a deck core, but the thing about decks in Yu-Gi-Oh right now is that there's probably like 12 to 15 cards in any given deck that are interchangeable in each, right? Like I'm putting the same 9 to 15 cards in every deck right now, like 3 copies of the same 3 to 5 cards." And that's just how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played right now. And why I couldn't lend you a deck to come to TCG Battleground and play with me is because I'm borrowing my staple cards.
You don't like me?
Like, no. My staple cards are in my go-to play deck. So even if I had an extra deck card to play with you, like, those staple cards you're not going to have. And those are the most important cards to play.
Why don't you let him use...
So you don't like me?
Why don't you let him use your deck and see how good that deck is?
But the thing is that I don't know how to play at all.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, that way he can be like, yo, this deck, no matter who uses this deck, you'll still win with
But, like, that's the joke about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players don't read their cards. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Players don't read their cards because there's so much text to read. If you look at a modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Card right now, there's like 4-5 paragraphs of, like, text.
You know why they don't read the cards, right?
Why?
Because they trust in the heart of the cards.
But like if you're actually trying to learn how to play the game, like for real, like there's so much text on a card.
No, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I've been watching videos and stuff like that, seeing people like play, and I'm just like, dude, there's so many mechanics to this shit. Like,
and that's what sucks about you learning how to play a Master Duel. Like, it's good that you are learning how to play a Master Duel, but a lot of the YouTube content that I've been seeing lately are people that actually know how to play the real game, like doing bite-sized videos that are oversimplifications of the card game to a Master Duel audience.
Dude, yeah.
So it seems unfair. Like, I see that, I'm like, that's mean. Like, you're really gonna try to, like, portray that mechanic like that when really it's so much more than that, so that when they show up in person in locals to play that, they're gonna have
completely different.
It's completely different, and that's such a misrepresentation to this group of people.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of like saying like, "Oh, I'm so great at 2K, but when I show up to the real court, I fucking suck." You know what I mean? That's kind of like the same thing. Like, yeah, just because you're good, you know, in this particular aspect.
Believe it or not, I don't think actual in-person Yu-Gi-Oh has real in-person physical.
No, like that's what I mean. But I mean, like
physical,
is that skill based? Well, it is.
It's mentally skill based, but like my ability to place a card on the table isn't like me. I can't jump in real world, so like, but I'm good at 2K. Like that's different.
You know? What I meant like, just because you're good in one, like for an example, just because you're good in Master Duels doesn't transition into like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be great in actual.
That's been the argument a lot of the time, because there's different kind of unofficial simulators in Yu-Gi-Oh. Some like are like Master Duel, which are more intuitive and will give you in-game like prompts, like, do you want to activate this card? Do you want to do this? Do you have this? You have this play available to you right now. Do you want to do it? There's some that are more like, air quotes, real, that like at any given point you can activate anything, but like if it's an illegal activation, it's like the real world where it's like, no, you can't place that card at this time.
It's like Madden and NFL Street.
Yeah.
Because it's funny that you say that, because like when I was playing the game earlier, it would tell you, like, especially on the opponent's turn, it'll always remind you, like, oh, you can activate this spell trap right now. But obviously, like, in real life, nobody's going to tell you that.
No one's going to tell you that.
Nobody's going to tell you that.
And that was an issue I had at TCG Battleground on Thursday because, like...
You didn't tell me, bro.
No. Here's the thing. Like, I have a much better personality for playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In person than a lot of people.
Do you though?
But listen, like, I have a strong personality, I speak clearly, and, like, I intimidate people just by not being a fucking loser, right? Mm-hmm. So...
You intimidate people by wearing your fucking tank tops.
But not even that. Like, I'll show up in my Yu-Gi-Oh! hoodie. In my, like, beige Yu-Gi-Oh! Hoodie that's sitting over there.
You out-muscle these nerds out there.
But it's not only... But, like, that at regionals is a detriment almost. Because, like, I'll get opponents that are like, oh, well, this guy looks like he gyms. Like, he's not a real fucking dork. So, like, I'm sure I can bully him.
You're like, I'm the best dork.
Yeah, but... Yeah, exactly. Like, I know game mechanics. And they'll be like... What? Like
you pull the genuine fucking protagonist move where they're just like, oh, this guy can't move, and then they have a close-in moment like,
it's because that's the thing. Like I have a master's. You know what I mean? Like I'm mentally capable. Like I know how to like talk my way around this game. Is what I'm trying to say, right? And a lot of nerds don't actually know that aspect of it. Yeah, they can't even speak half the time for real. So like this nerd, had a card set, a trap set that he did not remember at the time. So he resolved the effect of my spell card, and but then he remembered he had that card set, so he pretended like he reset the game state, so that like if I have a card that can banish any card in the graveyard, banish it and negate its activated effects for the rest of this turn. He had a trap set that could negate the effects of any activated spells on the field for the rest of the turn, right? So he resolved my spell card that negated his monster effect in hand, which negated my effect on field. But he put it back in the graveyard and was like, oh, wait, thinking, remembered he had this trap card set and like reset the game state on his own and was just like, no, chain Imperial Order. And I'm like, no, you already resolved my chain. Like my effect has already been resolved. Like you can't chain to that right now. He lied to my face, being like, no, I was just thinking I didn't resolve it, even though he moved the card in resolution of the effect. So I had to call Judge. Jacob Banuelos came to the table because he's literally the best in El Paso when it comes to like when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Like rulings. And he told me to my face that in Yu-Gi-Oh! There is no way to resolve disputes between two players, especially like if it's an irrefutable state. Yeah. If the game state can be resolved to the lowest to the most recent common like accepted state, then the players can resolve from there.
That's when you arm wrestle him.
No, I was knocked this dude in the fucking face, bro. Like, I was like, you're lying to Jacob's face right now. Me and you both know that you're lying to Jacob's face right now. Been like, all right, and bro, you are trying to pretend that, like, it's this unaccepted game state that neither Jacob, just, like, being in the background can't resolve. And I can't resolve because, like, I don't have a fucking camera set to the table.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't, like, prove that you...
Exactly. So, like, I look at Jacob in the face, I'm like, so you are saying that he's allowed to cheat because I can't prove that he's cheating? And he's like, basically.
I mean, to be
fair... I was pressed, bro! I was pressed!
To be fair, that does make sense. I mean, like, if you can't prove that he's cheating, even though you know that he is, I mean... What can you do about it?
I was so and the most annoying part is, like, you're not allowed to use, like, footage or anything, like, in these minor disputes or anything like that.
I was going to say,
so I 2-0'd him. So, like I was saying, a best of 3 format, if you 2-0 somebody, it's a best of 3. Like, if I go 2-0-3, it's a sweep. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I 2-0'd him. just because I was pissed. Because I was like, I was playing with you because I wanted to have fun. It's a fucking Thursday. Whatever. I had to 2-0 you just to embarrass you because you're being a little fucking cunt right now. So like, I go to Jacob afterwards and he's like, yeah, I went through the cameras and like, he was lying and basically my account for the story was true. Mm-hmm. And I'm pissed. I'm so fucking pressed. Like, I'm like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. That like, oh, and then like he wanted to defend it, being like, "Oh well, Drew outplayed me. He knew what deck I was playing. He played my outs," and I'm just like, "Cause you're bad. Like I don't know, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like you're fucking dog shit at this."
You should have beat him up, honestly. Just beat him up. Short him with what?
Anyways, something CJ did want to talk about was the current season of Demon Slayer.
Yes.
Because Aldo started watching the most recent season, he's probably 4 or 5 episodes behind because the Entertainment District arc is only like a few episodes behind.
But I've read through that.
Have you really?
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Nice. Yes.
So when I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, it's because the animation is really good, bro. The sub is really good.
The voice actors,
it's crazy.
Tanjiro's voice actor, I give mad fucking props.
Like,
god damn.
So see some of these panels just like easily animated through. It looks great.
And they're 1-to-1 adaptations too.
Yes.
There's no like fudging of like what the plotline was. It's like 1-to-1. Like this is exactly what happened in the manga.
Panel by panel.
One thing I really like that the anime does is they even incorporate the goofy ass fucking faces. Dude, I love.
Me and Aldo talk about all the time.
Dude, that's so.
It's the best.
Funny. Especially when it comes to like Zenitsu and stuff. Like Zenitsu has the ugliest fucking faces in the manga,
he does.
and they will animate every fucking ugly face Zenitsu does.
Shit's so funny.
Have you seen that guy on TikTok that is practicing to do the Inosuke spine bend and grabbing his ankles?
Yeah.
What the
Doug, he's almost there.
Yeah. I have not seen that.
He's almost there. It's fucking crazy.
Like, there's a manga panel where Inosuke in his pig mask, like, wraps his head around his back and holds, like, the front of his ankles.
Okay, I think I remember. I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw him do his fucking like slithering fucking yeah. Oh my god, dude, that's so wild.
So that's day 2, and then this is a week after.
Bro,
dog, he's almost there, dog.
That's no, man. My spine would break for sure.
No,
but when I first saw the animation style of him when he dislocated his shoulders, bro, I was like, yo, that's fucking crazy.
It like, Izui is my favorite character. I am totally excited to see him being dismembered. Because like it's gonna be so fucking exciting.
Well, this most recent episode, man, you have to watch it.
I'm gonna watch today's episode, but something you also want to talk about was like the most recent episode of One Piece.
The
anime episode where like there's kind of a mistranslation. It's not a mistranslation. It's like a reinterpretation of a manga piece of dialogue from Nami. Mm-hmm. And even before you mentioned this when you walked in, CJ, I saw nerds like on Twitter bitching about it.
Yes.
Because it's not a 1-to-1 translation of the manga.
It never is.
But it gets the same effect across. Mm-hmm. I don't know why nerds are so mad. Why are nerds so mad, CJ?
Bro, honestly, nerds are only so mad because they want that, like, oh man, that's not what it said in the manga. They just want to be nerds. You know how
it's because nerds have this purist mentality.
Yes,
to them.
Bro. Like they just the sense of entitlement is like, we need what Oda said in the manga. It's like, bro,
it's because my thing about
shout out to the voice actor, bro. She fucking nailed it.
My thing about nerds, like when it comes to anime, they have this centrist personality that like, why would they retranslate that like for that? Because I felt a certain type of way in the manga when this was said. Mm. I see that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they're like, why would they ban this card or hurt this deck? Don't they know that this is my favorite deck? And like, I haven't been playing that long and now I'm gonna quit because Konami hurt me, blah, 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 blah. Like Konami gives a shit. Like,
yeah. It's like, bro, adaptability makes you better.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. Like, fuck.
I get why nerds were, don't get me wrong, man. I get why nerds were mad because it wasn't like verbatim what it said, but it never is.
Never.
So it's just like, get over it. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I understand completely because the effect wasn't the exact same, But dude, like I said, the voice actor, when you end up seeing the episode, like they have like a mini flashback to like all the shit that Luffy and Nami's been through. So it builds up to the emotional effect. So you're just like, oh wow. And then when she finally says like, no, he's gonna be the king of the pirates, like, bro, it's cool. I mean, I don't get why they're mad. Just nerds being nerds.
Yeah. And like I've seen memes like that even like on Reddit of like, oh, I can never like this thing like this again because my highly idealistic viewpoint on this specific panel and specific chapter have been changed to be more anime friendly. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Dude, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It would have been cooler to have her say what it said in the manga. But I mean, dude, just enjoy it for what it is. You know what I mean?
I get it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
I think that's about it for a list of talkable context for the Nerd Down. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
No, sir. Nerds watch more anime than your favorite anime. And I'm sure we've had a discussion about it. So please listen to Between Nerds podcast in all your podcast platforms. Mm-hmm. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you do listen on YouTube, like, subscribe, and also use the hashtag, the new hashtag now. It's going to be hashtag
Nerds for Black Leadership.
Yep.
And don't forget, Between Nerds is the only podcast guaranteed to add girth to your penis. So don't forget, tune in all the time, every week.
Not FDA approved, but yes.
Yes. But yes. Uh-huh. I don't know. I think that's about it. My name is Drew Philip Elias. This is Alden Mendez. This is Christopher James. Please email us questions, comments, or concerns at betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com or on social media at Between Nerds. Please use hashtag blacks. No.
Wait, what?
Nerds for Black Leaderships. That's NERDSFORBLACKLEADERSHIP in an original tweet, Instagram post, or YouTube comment to be entered into our February giveaway. For every like, retweet, or YouTube comment, we will be donating to the El Paso Black Young Leaders Association. I think that's it.
This has been
Between Nerds.